Say something.
Say something, I'm giving up on you.
That's a lot better.
Good. This is Twin Stick Radio, episode 28 for the week of July 23rd, 2018. I am one of your hosts, Trey Higgins, and I'm joined by Christopher Rodriguez.
Hi.
And Justin T. Lopez.
What's up, everybody?
That was a very...
Why don't you speak into your mic ever? You literally have to speak into it, but you're all, what's up, everybody?
What's up, everybody?
I feel like the pop filter, because it's so much bigger than the actual mic, sometimes like it confuses you.
The world confuses me.
That's very true. Hey, where's Anaheim?
Colorado.
Damn it.
Next.
You're right.
How many types of boats are there?
At least 2.
How's everyone's week been? Any exciting stories to tell before we get into it?
It was my birthday.
It was your birthday. Happy birthday.
Exciting. Thanks. I am 24.
So we were at Freddy's and Whitney was like, yeah, the Finkelstein Pop's coming out. And you were all, I don't know who that is. And you walked away and got your food. And Whitney goes, how does he not know that? I was like, because fucking Nightmare Before Christmas came out before Justin was born.
Is that true?
1993.
Yeah, a year before I was born. I mean, I've seen it.
Sure, but you're not. It's not like one of the. He goes. She goes. You're such a Disney fanboy. I figured you know who that. What that was. Like that. No, because that's not considered in the pantheon of like Disney. Like when they open the Diamond Vault of Disney, Nightmare Before Christmas is not in that vault.
I also don't. I'm not one of those people who's just really into Nightmare Before Christmas.
It's great.
So-
it's a great. I think it's the best Disney movie. I think it's great.
So I
I'm
was
not a big
born-
fan of Tim Burton.
I was born in 93. And so a lot of people my age had never seen that movie, but I grew up in California. And so typically people would go to Disneyland 2 times a year. We would go usually in the spring, and then we would go during Christmas, because Christmas they set it all up and it's really pretty. Well, one of the things that happens during Christmas is they change the haunted house into Nightmare Before Christmas theme.
Got it. I was literally like, I was born in 1993, but sort of nobody's seen it. But I lived in California. It's like, how the fuck are you going to justify this?
So when we were like 6 or 7, like a bunch of my friends had gone to Disneyland for Christmas before I did, and they were like, "Oh my gosh, they changed the haunted house! It's so fucking cool! It's a big deal!" And it's this movie, and so we all went and watched that movie, and that's how I learned about the movie, because at Disneyland.
Anaheim.
That is Anaheim.
It's semi-close.
Yeah.
You're not wrong.
There we go. I'm learning.
If you guys haven't listened to us before, we are a podcast about video games. We record weekly, and we are usually up on Fridays. We start this show every week with the same segment. Chris, what are you playing?
Destiny. Still.
How's that going?
It's fine. They added so the excitement came back into Destiny for like 9 hours, and it was gone again.
As Destiny usually
Sure.
does.
So I guess, what day was it? Tuesday?
It was Friday.
Friday, Reddit and Twitter, and just like, I don't understand how it happens, but like, you know, when you're working at ZDTs,
Okay.
and you're sitting there and it's dead, and then out of nowhere, and not just like busloads, but just different people start coming in, and it's like you think to yourself, they must have called each other and said, "Okay, everybody go to ZDTs now."
There's definitely a hive mind.
Sure, right.
It's a theory that I have.
Right, exactly.
It's just
I mean,
everyone's connected.
We've
somehow.
had the same theory at GameStop. We'd be sitting at GameStop GameStop's open for what, 10, 11 hours a day, and we'd be sitting there dead for 9 hours, and out of nowhere, 30 people end up in the store all at one time, and then they're gone. It's like, what the fuck just happened? Where did they come from? And anyway, and it's weird times. It's not like, oh, everybody just got off work. It'd be like at 1 o'clock in the afternoon. It's like, shouldn't you people be at work? What's happening? Anyway, so like Friday, Reddit and Twitter just blew the fuck up. They're like, hidden quest in Destiny, blah, 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 blah. It's like, there's no, Bungie's not that smart. But it was there. And they added a new exotic that you had to chase through a hidden quest called Whisper of the Worm. And so Daniel and I jumped on and we did it. And it's great. And we got the gun. However, in true Destiny fashion, it's just obtaining it is the dumbest fucking thing in the world. Getting the quest is 100% based in RNG because you have to sit around for an event to happen. You have to you have to kill a certain enemy during the event, and a portal opens. Well, I've seen posts on Reddit where people went almost 12 hours of sitting in front of their TVs playing Destiny. The event never popped up.
Mind you, it's a limited timed event, so it only happens
Friday
on
through Sunday. Yeah, Friday through Sunday. And we got lucky. Daniel and I LFG'd for a third guy because Trey wouldn't. You had to run an errand or something like that.
I was busy before the wedding.
And so we were lucky and got it on our third run, but we only got 3 runs in the matter of 4 hours. So in my eyes, did I waste 4 hours out of my Saturday? 100%. I could have been doing more things than playing that mission. However, I don't know. I'm so torn. Because it's like, I didn't wait. I wasted 4 hours when really it should have just been a thing where we choose to go do it. Does that make sense?
Well, it's 10. You have like what, 12 minutes to get through the whole thing?
You have 20 minutes to get through the whole
20
thing.
20 minutes.
Yeah.
So the reality is that an hour of that probably would have been spent grinding for it anyways.
Sure.
Right? The problem is you had 3 hours of waiting for Cabal drills to stop fucking dropping.
Exactly.
So you wasted 3 hours.
Right.
Did they is there any sort of like increase in like that specific?
No, there wasn't.
No,
that's the thing that's fucking crazy. Because there's really only like 3 or 4 public events on IO, right?
There's 2 public events on IO.
There's also the Vex Plate. Not in that area.
It's not in that area.
Total.
In that area, there's only 2.
Again, IO total has like 3 or 4 events that you can do on the planet. This one area has 2. And you would think that like they would up the increase a little bit, so maybe it's like 60% of the time it happens instead of
60 or 70. I would assume it's 50-50.
But even then, like, how is it 50? Like, unless you could technically flip a coin
and hit
get
tails,
12 hours straight
100%.
Cabal drills.
Yeah,
but they're also not like increasing the frequency of how it's spawning.
Right.
Yeah.
So it would be one thing if it was like there's an event every 10 minutes here, and you have a 50-50 chance of getting it. But it's like every 30 minutes another event pops up there, and you have a 50-50 chance of it being whatever.
Every 15 minutes is an event usually. But yeah, it's just it's all based on RNG.
Yeah, they should have at least increased.
Sure, they should have done something, but they didn't.
Don't make it all that event. But,
and that's the thing is the problem is there are people out there who haven't got it, even though they spent an entire Saturday, 12 hours, wasting their time in this game.
But I also thought someone brought up a really good point on Reddit that I don't think applies to us because we didn't really want what this guy's talking about. But, of course, Reddit like broke down and everyone's mad because they had to grind for this and it was a pain in the ass and blah, 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 blah. Well, this guy comes on Reddit and he's like, I just don't understand you guys because this is the kind of shit that you're asking for all the time and you get it and you're still mad about it. And he's like, he basically said, like, I don't understand how we're supposed to make you happy or how anyone's supposed to make you happy because you want a quest that's like this, that's exclusive and that not a lot of people can get. And then you're just going to bitch because you can't get it as frequently as you want. Of course, like I said, that doesn't apply to Chris and I because Chris and I never wanted that. Like, we want hard missions for exotics, but I don't want it to be like in a limited daily activity or weekend activity.
Yeah, you're never going to make Reddit happy.
No, of course not. But the problem, at least the only problem the biggest problem I have with this is, again, especially coming off the second game that I played this week, Bungie just doesn't respect their players' time. They respect the player. They respect people who can put more than 8 hours a day into this game. That's the time who they respect. That's the time where it's like those people are getting the most out of Destiny. However, when we can log in for, I was lucky to be able to play for the 4 hours I played on Saturday because we had a fucking wedding to get to that night. If it's us, our time's never respected in this game. It's never like the hobbyist gamer, their time is never respected in Destiny.
I think the problem is, and it goes back to how I always talk about like the artificial grind, it's like I don't think it's necessarily they don't respect your time. It's they don't understand what makes a game necessarily successful. They think that if people are playing the game for a long time, then that's good. Well, it doesn't matter if they're only playing because your RNG system sucks or they can't get what they want.
That's the thing, though, that it is good for them. Like because this grind didn't exist, to this degree in vanilla Destiny 2.
Oh yeah, no,
it just wasn't there. So for Bungie, what they saw was all these people were grinding for stuff for the first 2 or 3 weeks and getting it because it was more accessible, and then they would stop playing until a major content thing happened. And so in order to keep people playing, with Warmind especially, because I think it got really bad with Warmind, they've created this grind because to them, having people in their game, even if they're not accomplishing anything, is more worthwhile to them. I don't know why. I don't know how.
I don't know. I mean,
but it's more worthwhile to them than allowing people to get things in a reasonable manner.
Right. No, it's definitely like what they want. Like they're doing it so that way they can have more people playing for a longer period of time.
Right.
Because it makes your game look like, we have X many hours of content, and it's like, you don't.
They have X many players playing for Y many hours, and it's extremely true for me in the last not last week, but the 2 weeks before that of never progressing. But I know that's a problem. Is Bungie has conditioned their players to believe that there is 100% a progression system there that is going to benefit them, and it is. However, it's all based in RNG, which is not a good system in any way, shape, or form. Now, fast forward to this week where I literally didn't pick up Destiny once since we did that Whisper mission. So since Saturday of last week till now, I've been playing World of Warcraft. And that game in the 4 days that I've played has felt more rewarding in every way, shape, and form than Destiny 2 ever has. Ever.
Well, it's like how earlier at lunch, whenever Ev was talking about like a thing about WoW is like you can look at a specific mission or a specific thing that you're trying to do, and you can figure out how long it's going to take.
Exactly how long it's going to take.
And some people like that, and some people don't.
Yeah, and that's the thing is WoW does things right. Like in every way, they
invented the genre.
They've been around long enough to where they should.
And there's no shame in copying WoW's formula into your game because, like I said, in the last 4 days that I've been playing this game, I have never felt as rewarded as I have playing in WoW that I ever did in Destiny 2. And there's little things, man. It's little discoveries. I was telling you guys at lunch of finding an item that you can't sell and you can't destroy it. So it's got to be something with the quest, but there's nothing telling you. There's no thread going, this is where you need to go. This is what you need to do. You just accidentally stumble upon a lady who kicks you off a hill and you end up getting caught in this windstorm created by a giant bat. And then you get a really fucking cool looking weapon skin for your artifact weapons. Holy shit. How the fuck did that even happen? That's so fucking cool. And it's not just that. There's more and more things like that. There's more and more things to go for.
And it was funny too, just with Destiny 2, is that the way that they had initially like pitched the game, that's kind of what it sounded like.
Sure.
Like it sounded like the farm was a place on Earth that was a social space, but you could leave and just go straight to the patrol from there.
Yeah.
And the quest sounded like things that you were getting. Like that was my big problem at first, was that like Destiny 2 doesn't, like, it sounded like it was going different in these weird aspects, but it's like, man, if you guys had just like, because they fucked themselves over, right?
Sure.
Their quest givers all exist in these social spaces.
Yep.
There's no NPCs really to interact with in the regular patrols. And so you're given like just these shitty ways to work around a system that doesn't work.
Yeah. And like the thing too is I can pull up the dungeon finder or raid finder, queue for a dungeon and a raid, and I know exactly what I'm going for. I know this shoulders for this specific class and this specific spec drops in this dungeon. So this is what I need to go do. It's not Destiny. It's like, oh, I guess I can go do the raid and hopefully I'll get boots.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Well, and WoW has the content. Enough content to be able to, like, if you want these things, here's what you can do.
Sure,
here,
that's 11
Destiny,
or, that's
like,
11 or 12 years of that. But the thing is it's like, we learn history. History's written. Good Lord,
sorry.
History's written, so we learn from it. That's exactly why people sat down and wrote history books, so we can learn from past mistakes. WoW does it perfect.
Yeah.
What the fuck, Bungie?
Don't have to reinvent the
wheel. You
don't
have to reinvent any wheel.
No.
Like, if I need boots, I should be able to go do a thing and get the fucking boots. That's all.
Well, that's what happened to me this week, where I'll go next and knock my turn out real quick.
WoW's great, by the way. Go play it, everybody.
But that's what happened to me this week. I did all my milestones, and I didn't get arms, and arms were dragging me down. They were like 374, while the rest of my gear was all 381.
Should be, yeah. I was going to say 381, 382.
And so I was like, okay, well, I did all my milestones, and I haven't gotten arms, and next week I'm going to be in the same position, unless I get arms in like my first drop. So we were finishing something up on Saturday right before the wedding, and I was like, Daniel, I'm going to go do the raid. I'm going to go do a raid. And he was like, okay, well, I can help you. We get into Eater of Worlds, knock it out in 30 minutes, get arms in my first drop. And it's like, wow. On one hand, it's cool that I got exactly what I needed. On the other hand, I was also extremely lucky because I easily could have done that raid and not gotten arms.
That's exactly it.
And then I would have had to do the 2 other raids.
Yep.
But the other thing is that sucks, though. Like, I shouldn't have to be in a position where I feel pressured to do content that I didn't really want to do. I'm glad I did it because Eater of Worlds is great. Eater of Worlds is one of my favorite raids in Destiny because it's really so much more accessible than Leviathan is. It didn't seem that way because we had played it on launch week blind, and it was a pain in the ass to like figure out. But man, it's a fun raid, a raid layer. But it kind of sucks that you have to feel pressured to do that in order to be guaranteed to drop what you need. Whereas like there are 5 armor slots, there are 5 milestones that you can do solo. So why not just guarantee that certain drops will be at different places and just rotate it every week? So this week Cade has arms, next week he has head, next week he has chest. That way you're guaranteed to get everything that you need that week. Like I don't, but also it would make grinding really easy, right?
Well,
you know exactly what you need.
It wouldn't necessarily make grinding easy. It would make it faster, which means people would hit that 385 cap and stop playing their game. Because, dude, I'm not at 3. How long was that? What was Warmind?
Warmind was like the first week of May.
I've literally played Destiny every single week since May, and my main character is still not 385.
You are the ideal goal of what they're going for.
I am. I'm 100%
Just spend
their
some
goal.
money in Eververse and you
No, that it doesn't work like that. Thank God it doesn't work like that. But literally, I am Destiny's goal. I am Bungie's player of the fucking year because I am doing exactly what they want me to do.
You're Bungie's bitch.
Yeah, basically, I've bent over and let Bungie ram their fucking lance into me. Jesus. What is it? What is that thing they hid in the forest? No, the thing they hid in the forest.
It was
the javelin. Javelin. That's it's just
Javelina.
Javelina. Sorry, and it sucks, man. It freaking sucks. All because I don't. I mean, I say I don't have time to go do a raid. Sure, it's only 30 minutes. Or I spent 4 hours grinding for this fucking Whisper thing on Saturday.
Knocked all 3 of them out.
Sure, I could have knocked all 3 of them out. But guess what? We were doing the fucking RNG-based Whisper thing. So I couldn't go do the raids. It's whatever. It's fucking stupid.
Justin.
Let's see. This week, as far as games played, I finished.
Sure as hell wasn't WoW, you son of a bitch.
It wasn't WoW. I'm sorry. I finished up the Awesome Adventures of Captain Spirit, which was
was
okay.
It worth the free entry?
With the free entry, yeah, it was okay. Like it wasn't nearly as emotional as I was hoping. It was just overall meh.
Did you play it and you're like, man, I need a good cry? So
like whenever I saw the trailer, I was like okay, kind of struggling relationship between like a dad and the son and stuff. I was like, I could get into this. Yeah, it was just overall meh.
Daddy issues the game.
And then for my birthday, I actually got a Switch.
Ooh.
But I haven't gotten any games for it yet. Bree was gonna whenever she got it.
There's a shit ton of games you can download for free.
Yeah, I know.
Okay.
I just haven't yet. Whenever she got it, she was gonna give me a couple games, but GameStop for whatever reason didn't have any of the games that she thought that I would like. She was like, she went there and then she's like, "Do you guys have Rocket League?" And they were like, "No, we're out."
Really?
Yeah. They were like, "Yeah, we just sold it." I'm like, "Oh, okay."
Well, why didn't they be like, but here's a fucking Nintendo eShop pass.
Right.
You can just buy it on fucking eShop.
I don't know. I mean, and that's what I told her. I was like, most people, a vast majority of people who play Switch, they don't own the physical games. They just
Unless
buy
they're huge.
them.
Yeah, but man, like...
Yeah, some of them are pretty big.
With as small as the memory is on that base system...
Like Zelda, it's good to have the little cartridge.
Yeah, it's almost better to buy the physical games.
Yeah.
And even some of those physical games, they still were... Like, what was it? It was like WWE or NBA, where basically it took up your entire system memory, even if you bought it on
what
cartridge.
What GameStop did she go to? Seguin?
Seguin? Yeah, I was on the Seguin.
Like something I ever do.
But yeah, so I'm excited to play that. I'm far future gonna get Pokemon, obviously,
of course.
Soon, probably like the staples.
December 7th, you'll have Smash Bros.
Yeah, probably Mario Kart.
Yeah,
just the huge. I'm excited to play that.
Cool.
Oh, I guess too. We went pop hunting because the San Diego Comic-Con shit, and we got everything we wanted, which was nice.
You talked about that last week.
Oh, did I?
Did he?
No, it wasn't.
Yeah,
San Diego Comic-Con. No, we didn't. Oh, yeah, we did. It was Thursday. You're 100% right.
I don't think you talked about it on the podcast.
No, you're right.
You just talked about it with us.
Yeah, no, you're right. I think I did talk about it on the podcast.
It was on the podcast.
Yeah, because we got everything we wanted. Because Trey was able to pick up Headless Nick. Now, Sunday comes the Pikachu debacle.
Pika. But you think it's not going to be a debacle. You think there's going to be more than enough.
More than enough.
Oh, I opened up last week's show notes. Who wants to hear last week's news all over again? All right. You guys ready for news?
Always.
Let's do this.
Hit it.
Ninja Theory has announced that its indie darling, Hellblade Senua's Sacrifice, is getting the full VR treatment on Oculus Rift and Vive on July 31st. Those who purchase the game on Steam will receive the update for free. Now, I don't know how this is going to work. I assume it's going to work like Resident Evil 7. And if it does, this is the perfect game for VR. Because it already does a lot with sound. Sound is a really big deal in that game because that's how you figure out the fact that Senua was crazy. Like, if you're not using headphones, it's kind of hard to tell. That's not fair. Senua has a mental illness, I guess. Sorry if I offended anyone.
It's a video game. It's literally a video game character.
Yeah, but one day I might get a job, and I don't want people to James Gunn me.
But it's a video game character. James Gunn,
and he was just joking,
talking about people.
But yeah, I feel like this game would be really cool for VR.
Also, don't forget, it's coming out on iPhone and Android and the Switch.
This is?
No, it's not.
Oh,
it's where like it's going down the fucking Skyrim path. It's like, oh, here it is, and here it is here, and here it is there. Here it is here.
Be good on it would be great for Switch though.
Of course, it would here on Switch
because it's like just a short experience.
Here's the 8-bit version on Nintendo Classic.
Well, now that I own a Switch, I think everything should be on Switch, just for me.
There's a lot of things that should be on Switch that aren't on Switch yet.
Yeah,
like a lot.
Give it time.
Next item. Valve has changed the way that loot boxes work in the Netherlands. A Reddit user noticed that before purchasing a loot box in Dota 2, the new system shows exactly what players will be getting before they purchase the box. The Netherlands was one of the countries that enforced the Dutch gaming authority's ban on loot boxes. However, the Dutch still aren't able to access the Steam marketplace despite the changes to loot boxes.
So you buy a loot box and you can see what's in the loot box?
I think that's not a loot box.
No. It's not a loot box.
No, I would still agree that this isn't a loot box. You go to purchase a loot box, and before you complete the purchase, it says these are the items that are going to be in your loot box.
Right.
So you can see what's in the loot box before you purchase a loot box.
Yes. The initial way that you guys presented that was you buy it and then you see what's. I was just clarifying.
Oh no. But there's no like loot box. It's just a
box full
items.
of shit. Yeah.
So
here you go. Here's a Freddy's cup. There's ice in it. Like,
I'll take it.
Yeah, thanks. Take it.
So yes, I mean technically it's not a loot box at that point. However, I kind of feel like that's how loot boxes should always work. I don't know how you deal with the system of like it resetting, right? Because you don't want a user to necessarily be able to back out, go to purchase, back out, go to until they get the exactly what they want. But I do think that like I've purchased boxes in Overwatch before. Like I've spent like $40 in Overwatch, and I've opened a purchased box that was all like blue items, like a voice line and an icon for my gamer tag or whatever. And what a waste of fucking like $2.
Kick in the nuts.
Yeah, for sure.
Absolutely.
Had I known that was going to be in that box, I might not have spent the money on it.
Sure.
I feel like I, as a consumer, have a right to know that.
Sure. But that's the thing is like, can you back out and then reload the box and see what's in it again? Back out, reload, and back out, reload, back out, reload.
Because then that brings into question like, okay, so when you go to select, whenever you buy a loot box, is it already predetermined of what's in that box?
Sure, right, so, that's what I mean. Or, sorry, go ahead.
So the way that I would do it is that I would set like a time, like this box will be this way for 5 minutes, and if you purchase it, then the new box will have a new role. That way, you're still time gating, like the fact that someone wouldn't be able to back
Sure,
back
yeah.
But it also like kind of gives you some time too, where you're like, I need to scrounge up some Steam points,
Or you just let people buy whatever the fuck they want to buy, because I guarantee you will make more money if you do that.
yes.
I don't know.
Actually, you probably would make less money.
No, there's no. I would have easily already spent hundreds of dollars in Destiny 2 if I could just buy what I wanted.
Sure,
but then it's like you would only spend that $100. Whereas, like, if you potentially didn't get all the things that you wanted, you could potentially spend more.
But I haven't spent money in Destiny 2 at all.
You are the bad example, though, right?
Am I?
You are a bad example because that sounded aggressive at me.
No. I get what you're saying.
You can't buy what you want, so you won't buy.
I just don't buy anything.
Right.
However, there are like 5 other people for every one of you that will buy loot boxes until they get what they want.
Exactly.
So instead of spending that $100, they might eventually spend $200.
Mm-hmm. It's the same. It was the same problem that Nintendo investors had whenever they were releasing Mario on the iPhone or like for phones for mobile. It was just because they just wanted to charge a flat rate and nothing more.
Right.
And all of the investors were like, well, why? Like you can make way more money if you make them pay more over time.
I don't know. It's just we've talked about loot boxes extensively, and they're just.
And of course, like I think we both agree with you that
sure.
out of these two systems,
I
would much rather just be able to buy whatever the fuck I want for whatever price you set.
Which one is more user friendly versus like?
Of course,
yeah.
But that's where you charge like
upcharge it.
Yeah, I mean,
make it more
like
expensive?
no joke. I have almost hit the purchase button more. Like the urge is there more in for the mount and WoW. There's a bat mount in WoW and it's $25. $25 for a mount is a lot of fucking money
for some code.
But my finger has been so close to buying that bat mount more times than I've ever even thought about buying something in Destiny 2.
But it's funny too though, because like I tried to buy a prismatic matrix because one of the exotic sparrows that I didn't have was available and I had everything else, so I was pretty much guaranteed to get it. I think there was one other thing that I might have gotten, and for whatever reason, like my card didn't work, even though I just used it on something.
Did you use all your matrices already? Because you get one per week when you level up.
Yeah, and I had already gotten it and used it and gotten something else. Got it. So I tried to buy it because I was like, at least I'm guaranteed to get the thing that I want. It didn't work out. Next week,
it's gone.
The sparrow was on.
Okay.
I felt worse about spending the bright dust on it than I would have felt about spending like the $5 to get silver. So it's obviously worked. Like the only time I bought $10 worth of loot boxes with my own money in Destiny 2, and then I bought 10 with the money that I got from.
You know what? I'm sorry. I take that back. I spent $10 in Destiny on Saturday because we got the Whisper of the Worm, so I bought the skin for it because I like the Air skin.
Okay.
But it was something that I knew I was buying. I knew I was buying the Whisper of the Worm skin ornament. Sorry, I knew I was buying it, and I spent money.
Yeah.
It's like
obviously it's ideal, but it's.
I just think it's smart. I don't know, man. I feel like it's smarter. I feel like
it's the idea of a one-time purchase versus like multiple possible purchases. It's more enticing for businesses.
But then again, like you have Marvel Heroes is a perfect example, at least for me too. I spent $200+ in Marvel Heroes, and I knew exactly what I was buying.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I mean, Marvel Heroes is set up like that, and there was loot boxes too. But I knew what I was buying, and if I didn't know what I was buying, I never would have given Gazillion $200.
Yeah, I don't even have a problem with loot boxes. I just wish that
huge problem with loot boxes.
I think if you had the option to maybe purchase like an Overwatch, like if there was like. If you could pay slightly more gold or coins or whatever for a loot box that you were guaranteed to get at least one like purple or one gold.
A lot of things do that.
They do that.
A lot of the WWE
like
2K18 does it.
You have tiered like chests, basically.
A lot of things do that. I can't believe Overwatch doesn't.
Mm-hmm. I don't know, man.
Because that's the only Blizzard game that has that problem.
We were giving each other shit through a group text message the other day. Like there was a Destiny bag, and Justin made a joke about RNG in Destiny. And I just kind of hit the point where I was like, I made a joke to Justin about like, I basically called him out for only liking games that have progression through loot boxes.
Right.
Which is true.
It's fair.
but I realized that, and I was like that after I said that, I made the joke, chuckled to myself for a good 5 or 10 minutes because I just think I'm the funniest person ever. And then I thought about it, and I was like, man, that makes me not want to play Overwatch anymore, though, because a truer statement about Overwatch has never been spoken before.
Which is so crazy because that's coming from I just bought Diablo 3, the ultimate you're gonna die edition on PS4,
edition.
And then I'm playing WoW, and neither one of those games have any of that in it, and it's so crazy that their most popular game, aside from WoW, is so loot box driven. It's crazy to me.
I guess, but
so crazy.
Whenever you said that too, I thought about it too, and I was like, well. For me, you don't like the skins and everything. You're not progressing in the game. Your progression is you just get better.
But that's the problem though.
If you're collecting things, or if you're all about I want to unlock everything, sure, that's the progression.
They have a leveling up system, and I would say Rocket League has the same problem, and so does Dota and
does Heroes of the Storm have a loot box system?
Yes.
I'm trying to think of Blizzard games.
Yes.
Okay,
Heroes of the Storm.
Okay.
So they have a leveling system, and what you're trying to do to level up is get that next loot box. There is a sort of addiction to leveling up because of that loot box.
Yeah.
There's no other sort of real customization with your character's abilities. You can't progress. And I'm not saying that the game needs any of this.
Right.
But it sucks that when you're getting to a point where realistically, if this game was made 15 years ago, what would have happened was at the end of every match, you would get coins, and then you could go to a shop and buy the specific items with coins in the game.
That's fair.
That's a real progression system.
Yeah.
How sad is it that we live in a fucking world where one of the most popular games of all times, their progression system is all based on you might get something.
I just think
what the fuck, guys?
I think of it as a reward.
It's not a reward though, because if you let's say you're level 99 and it takes you 9 hours to get to level 100, that's 9 hours of work that you put in, albeit probably having a ton of fun, and your reward, oh my god, again, and it's all blues. That's not a reward. That is not a reward.
Sometimes Christmas morning rolls around and you open a present and Grandma got you shitty socks. Okay,
but socks are cool though.
Rewards aren't always great. But it's something.
But the thing is, you don't have to defend it, right? Because that's not the gameplay loop. It's not Destiny.
Sure.
There's not any actual character progression. My whole point is, though, that, I want to get to a point where the time that is spent in the game gives me something to show for it.
I feel accomplished.
I want to come out and feel like this is a thing that I did. And here's the thing about Overwatch and Rocket League and League of Legends and Dota and Heroes of the Storm and all these other games that follow the same business model. The reality is that you are only having fun in those games when you're winning. If you go on a losing streak, it's not fun. It doesn't matter. I don't care who the fuck you are. No one loses more than 3 times in a row in Overwatch and wants to keep playing.
Yeah.
And the second problem is,
whenever Taylor starts losing, he continuously plays and he just loses more.
And he probably gets even more mad.
Sounds like TJ. He's sounds like our friend TJ when it comes to FIFA. It's real bad. That dude's gone through 4 PlayStation controllers.
I'm just like, Taylor, just take a break. It's not getting better. He's like, no.
And the second issue with that game is just that there is nothing to show for your time spent in that game. You have this emblem that is so big. And Destiny 2, Destiny 2 is not removed from this problem. Nope. It has the same exact issue. 285 means nothing. A lot of the fucking scores on your emblem, 385 means nothing. A lot of the scores on your emblem mean nothing because you can cheese it.
Yep.
Even Destiny 1 had the problem. Destiny 1, you couldn't actually show that you had played the game a lot until year fucking 3.
Yep.
So my whole thing with games right now is that they want you to have this unhealthy relationship with them, but they give you nothing. They give you no satisfaction for having that relationship.
Yeah, and the thing is I don't know how much time I put into WoW in the last 4 days. It hasn't been like a shit ton.
It's been a shit ton for a regular person.
Sure, because I usually set all mornings aside because we're up at 6 a.m. So I'm working from 6 to maybe 1 or 2 in the afternoon, and then from that point on, I'm either playing. Then we'll make dinner, watch a movie, whatever. So it has been more than a normal person plays games. But I would say it's under 20 hours in the last 4 days. But
that's not bad.
It's maybe anywhere 20 to 30. But I could after this, I'm really excited to log onto my character and show you these badass weapons I have because of the time I put into it.
Right.
It's
yeah.
Yep.
Speaking of Destiny 2, Bungie has updated their roadmap and revealed some of the changes coming in the Forsaken pre-patch. Bulk shader deleting, the milestone changes, heroic story missions, and the weapon slot changes will all be launched on August 28th, a week before Forsaken comes out.
Heroic.
Heroic. So yeah, the milestone changes I believe are every 4 days. Some milestones reset. Weapon slot changes. You can put any weapon into any slot.
No. Sort of.
Basically, I'm sorry. Any weapon type. Specifically, any weapon type can go into any weapon slot.
Like Hawthorne's Field Forge shotgun is going to become a kinetic weapon.
Yeah.
It's just it's going to go in that top slot. It will no longer be in that power slot.
But you can equip theoretically 3 Hawthorne Field shotguns.
No. You can equip 3 shotguns. They're just not all going to be Hawthorne's Field Forge. Hawthorne's Field Forge is going to go into that kinetic slot. And then there will be another like good bone structure can go into the energy slot.
I'm pretty sure that you can run, if you wanted to, 3 energy weapons.
No, you cannot. There will still be kinetic, energy, and power.
I'm aware that those 3 types of guns will exist, but I'm pretty sure that you can run 3 energy weapons. They're all using the same ammo, but you could run 3 energy weapons, 1 in each slot.
No, you cannot.
I'm pretty sure you can.
No, you cannot.
Oh, okay.
I promise you cannot.
Okay.
Like Hawthorne's Field Forge shotgun is now going to be in that first slot. Mm-hmm. It's not going to be in any of the other 2. It will only be in that first slot.
I'm aware. I'm not saying that.
And
that's
there's
wrong.
not going to be an energy version of Hawthorne's gun. And you can't take like Uriel's gift and stick it into the kinetic slot, and then use another Uriel's gift, and then use another Uriel's gift. You can't.
That was the way that they had marketed it. After
That's because it's super confusing, but that is not how that works.
Okay.
There will be like guns are assigned to a specific slot. However, there will be like shotguns in the kinetic and energy and power. So you can theoretically run 3 shotguns. They're just all going to be different type, they're all going to be different shotguns.
Again, I'm aware of that, but I very clearly remember an interview during E3 where someone asked him that question. And he was like, yes, technically you could run 3 energy weapons, but you don't want to do that because they're all going to be using the same ammo type.
Yeah, you can't. I from all the Vidocs and everything, you can't run like Heart of Time, Uriel's Gift, and what's that? Cabot. You can't do that because they're all using the same ammo, so they're all going to be in that energy slot.
Okay. But anyway, so all that's launching before.
I guess we'll find out on August 28th.
Well, I mean, the other problem is that, like, as much as we're having this conversation, if it comes off like I'm frustrated, I'm not frustrated at Chris. I'm frustrated because they still haven't clearly, like, said any of this shit.
It's true.
The fact that we have to debate about it in order to get any clarification about the issue is the bigger problem.
Yep.
It's not like Chris and I can have differing opinions on how this is going to work all day long, but Bungie's not giving any. Like, I was like, I could Google this, but it's not out there.
Remember 6 months ago where Bungie's like, we're sorry, we need to communicate more? No, they don't.
That's just what people wanted to hear.
Right, exactly.
But
it's a new year. New year, same me.
We do have a question.
Oh, snap.
It's from our good friend Damien. First he says, hi, Damien. I'm sorry, hi, Damien. Hi, y'all. It's Damien.
First he said hi to himself.
Hey, y'all. It's Damien once more. I feel the need to clarify that I do not play Fortnite. I used to play it a while ago. But then I stopped enjoying it because there is literally zero progression worth my time in that game.
Before you go forward, I saw a tweet from somebody, and they go, I am so addicted to Fortnite. I can't stop thinking about it. I'm always watching clips. I'm always watching a streamer play it, and I just can't stop. It's like, what are you addicted to?
I wonder if there's a girl that I work with who probably has that same mentality.
I just can't imagine.
Literally, she's talking about it when she's working. She goes on breaks while she's working, and I go look at her, and she's watching Twitch streams.
I just can't imagine what there is to be addicted to.
I don't know.
Damien says a lot of stuff after that, mostly agreeing with us. He has a
let's hear it.
Theory. Well, Damien, I love you, and I would love to read all of this, but we would be here for like 30 minutes. It's a very long email. Then he says he has some predictions about Destiny Forsaken, but he does have a question.
This is why people don't write in, because we don't actually read it, what they write.
I promise you, if I sat here and read everything, we would be here for a while. No offense,
I will
Damien.
read it later, Damien.
We all have access to the email. He says, now time for the question in my email. What do you all think is going to be the best thing from Forsaken? Also, I love the Destiny talk. Just thought I'd let you all know. P.S. The current weapon system is great in my opinion. Bungie shouldn't change it.
I 100% agree with that.
Oh, I agree too. I think kinetic weapons could use a little bit of a buff.
Yep.
But I do like the current weapon
100%
system.
agree.
So what do you think the best thing about Forsaken is going to be?
Bulk shader deletion.
Well, that's coming out before Forsaken.
Oh,
so.
shit.
Drat.
Darn. Probably the new, after the video we watched today announced that they came out with today, probably the new exotics and stuff. Because all the exotics that I saw in that video really are like taking that step forward and making exotics worth like. Now it's like
you do like cool shit.
Yeah, you do really cool shit like that one warlock one. If you're wearing this exotic chest piece, your kinetic precision kills create a firefly explosion. Like that's super fucking cool. Or like the bow that lets you see through walls. Like all of that. When I say that, it's like, man, that's really overpowered. But it's like that's what exotics are supposed to be. Exotics are supposed to give you that. Oh fuck, I don't know which exotic I want to run. Like I'm not
an
sure.
Issue right now.
Well, and
definitely not. If you're a hunter, what are you running? Orpheus rig. If you're a warlock, what are you wanting? Probably something with void shit.
I feel like
that's all that's worth.
What are you running? It doesn't matter because they all suck.
But I feel like it's okay to be overpowered. Like
yes,
you're
in Destiny, it's 100% okay to be overpowered.
I mean, you're a space, not ninja, but you're a space something.
Yeah, space magician. I would say I'm looking forward to the new exotic stuff.
So I want to say that the story is going to be really good because I really want to believe that, but we all know that's not going to be the case.
Sure, I would say Kay's death, but I don't get to kill him, so I'm not looking forward to that.
I'd like to say that the end game is going to be like a lot better, and that's going to be worthwhile. But I kind of don't believe that either.
Sure,
I do think though that the one thing from Forsaken that stands out to me the most, and as something with the greatest potential to keep me coming back like regularly, is Gambit. Gambit it looks like so much fun every time I see gameplay from it. It doesn't matter. I fucking love it.
I think is that the arena
PvEVP?
So
yes.
So two teams are in different arenas.
Yeah.
Trying to kill enemies faster than the other one. It looks so fucking cool. And I also think too that Destiny hasn't really had something that's made it very original for a while. Mm-hmm. I think it did when at the launch of the first game, but they haven't. A lot of the game modes that they've incorporated into the game have been based off of popular modes in other shooters. Gambit's
telling me that Sparrow Racing wasn't the bee's knees.
It was the bee's knees.
Racing was awesome.
But I feel like this is just like a mode that works specifically for Destiny, and it also, oddly enough, I don't think this is going to happen.
Even though the Division did it first.
Samson's did it.
Did they do it first?
Last Stand is exactly Gambit.
I don't know. I didn't play it.
I know.
So as far as I'm concerned, Gambit is original, 100% Bungie's idea. No one else has thought of it first. But it did kind of show me during Guardian Con. They did a couple of live streams, and it was the first time that I ever saw someone do a live stream of Destiny PvP where I was like, "Oh, this could work for an esport."
Sure.
Just listening to people shoutcast it, I was like, this could work for an esport.
Shoutcast. I can't believe that's a fucking word.
But anyway,
commentary. It's called commentary.
I think the one thing that'll kill Gambit, which usually kills all of Bungie's modes, is that there's not a worthwhile reason to play it because the drops aren't worthwhile.
Of course, yeah, of course.
Well, I think that's why, obviously, I'm not in Destiny as much as y'all, but Gambit is pretty much one of the few things that I was looking forward to.
Sure,
if I do happen to pick it up.
But again,
because I don't care about the progression as much as I just enjoy fun gameplay. Yeah.
Sure,
and that's something right.
Sure, but again,
alley.
if you're done with Gambit because you're chasing that exotic that drops from Gambit after 2 days and
I would still play it. But
yeah, sure, because it's fun. But
there's no point.
Whatever,
you could be doing something else.
I'm done with Destiny. I'm not done with Destiny. I'm done talking about Destiny.
Thanks for writing in, Damien.
Yeah, thanks, Damien. Write in, and I swear, Damien, I love you so much, but your emails are always so long that I next time I will edit down your email when you send it to me.
Damien, it's okay. I will read it.
Everyone should read it. It's for us.
I forget that we have access to the email.
Anthem is a little different than the typical BioWare experience, but former senior creative director James Olin insists that isn't because EA pressured them into making it. In an interview with Game Informer, he stated, quote, "I think one of the things that BioWare has been really good at, which has allowed it to survive for more than 2 decades, is taking risks and trying new and different things," end quote. He called Anthem a, quote, "chance to do something different," end quote. He went on to say that Anthem's direction, quote, was driven by BioWare itself. BioWare always had a lot of control over the kind of games it makes, end quote.
Is he not with BioWare anymore?
Said former senior. I don't think he is.
Former senior creative director of SWTOR, but I think he's on Anthem.
I think he left.
Oh, I didn't know that. I didn't know he left. I know he left SWTOR to work on Anthem.
Yeah, I don't.
Maybe he's gone.
Yeah,
I don't know
entirely. But yeah,
Why would he be talking about Anthem if he wasn't on Anthem?
Because he's close to the project and people are trying
because he's been a
trying to get some sort of insight.
Yeah, people are trying to get some sort of insight on this game.
No, that's fair.
Well, he had been people who work at BioWare and are there for a long time.
It's like Bethesda. When you work for those two companies, you're there forever.
But it's also like you never get to stop talking about it. Mm-hmm. So he was there for almost 10 years, if not exactly 10 years. And I guarantee you, like, he's never going to be able to talk about anything but BioWare.
Yeah, it's like after the doctors finally left BioWare, I remember, like, even 5 years afterwards, people are still asking them about BioWare. It's like, what the fuck, guys? They don't even own this thing anymore. Know. Yeah. Mm-hmm. To me, sure, it's cool, and Anthem's going to be awesome. But in that same interview, Olin went on to talk about Star Wars: The Old Republic, and he did say that he regrets going the WoW route of Star Wars: The Old Republic, like really doing a WoW clone, and he wishes he would have pushed BioWare more to do Knights of the Old Republic online, which is really that. I mean, that would have been really, really cool
instead of like a
WoW
Wars
clone.
skin.
Yeah, I mean, Star Wars: The Old Republic is a WoW clone in Star Wars,
so
it's fine. There's nothing wrong with it, but a Knights of the Old Republic online would have been really cool. Yeah.
Yeah, I
don't know how it would work, but it seems cool.
I agree. I feel like one of the biggest problems with MMOs, and I think we're starting to get that way with shared world shooters, is that no one really wants to try to take their own unique spin on the genre. And while Star Wars: The Old Republic, a lot of people forget this, it was insanely popular when it first came out. Mm-hmm. For its first 6 months, it was one of the most popular games on PC.
It still is. I mean, it's not like WoW. It's not WoW or anything like that, but it's still pretty popular.
Well, I mean, we actually don't know. We don't know how popular it actually is because EA doesn't publish their online players. But I think a lot of people realized early on, they're like, oh, hey, this is World of Warcraft. And that's fine, but it actually really makes me want to go play World of Warcraft. So they left, and after their 6 months were up, they're like, I'm going to go play World of Warcraft.
Sure.
And never came back. And that sucks because if BioWare had made a BioWare-ass BioWare game,
sure,
it might have, it might be, in a solid second place to World of Warcraft.
Maybe. I don't know. Like, it's one of those things, it's like, we just said it, it's like, WoW does it do things bad? Sure, but for the most part, on an MMO aspect, it's perfect. So just copy it because you're going to.
They've had a long time to.
Sure, they have, but again, it's like it. Just copy it. Just do what they do, and if you have the good 4 pillars or the 3 pillars in story, gameplay, and progression, you're going to have a great game on your hand. If you just copy it. Well, because Star Wars is great. The Old Republic is great. Like, it is a great game. That is one of the few games where you can have, holy shit, thousands of hours of gameplay just through the initial 8 stories. That's not even considering endgame. That's just playing through the stories.
I'm not denying anything about the quality of Star Wars: The Old Republic. I do think that I still think it's a good game, and I think it's worth the free-to-play price of admission. I think everyone should give it a shot, especially if you like Star Wars and you have a PC that can run it, which is basically a potato. However, I do think that going the free-to-play route has had a negative impact on the overall game. I think that it tends to feel like a free-to-play game in a way that it didn't before, where it felt like a more polished AAA experience.
Yeah, I mean, I think it would have died if it didn't go free-to-play.
It would have died.
Yeah.
But I also think, too, that, like, should every game that is trying to do a shared world experience copy World of Warcraft? Yes, because World of Warcraft works. But I also think that, like, there are ways to differentiate and improve and play with the genre a little bit more that BioWare was more than capable of doing, especially BioWare, and Bungie was capable of doing, that people are afraid to do because they're too afraid to be, like, that much different.
Mm-hmm. We'll see what Anthem does. Like,
well, that's something I'm scared about with Anthem, because it's a BioWare-ass BioWare game, but it's kind of like Destiny, and it does some of the things that Destiny does right. It's going to be great. But if it's just Destiny,
made by
BioWare, it's still going to be fucking broken.
Sure.
Yeah. And that was the one that Division had. I feel like Division launched, and it learned a lot of the wrong lessons from Destiny, and it took them a year of patching and adjusting and fixing it to like make its own way in that genre.
It's hard to be a trendsetter while also guaranteeing a successful product.
Yeah,
sure. And that's the thing too, is like we say WoW and blah, wow, but WoW's been around for 13 years. They've had 13 years to perfect this thing.
Yeah.
And, Division, thank God it only took them a year to get it to where they are.
Right.
But they learned from WoW and Diablo and Destiny and all these other things. And they took what those games learned and what they've learned, stuck it into Division, and now literally they're moving it into Division 2.
Right.
We're
there's nothing wrong with taking ideas and inspirations from other games. You can still capitalize on what other people are doing right and make them better.
Sure.
Like that's the whole point of like progress.
Sure, and find a way to improve. It's just it's hard to improve what is universally seen as already perfect. You know what I mean? I don't know how you would improve the World of Warcraft formula. I'm playing it right now, and maybe after a month of me playing it, I'll figure it out. But as of right now, it's just like I know what I know what I need, and I know how to get it. That's all I want out of the progression system.
But that's the thing, though. Like, I don't know that you can improve World of Warcraft, but I also think that very few people can pull off World of Warcraft.
Sure, yeah.
So, like, I don't think BioWare can pull off Destiny or World of Warcraft. But I think that they could do some really interesting things and make that genre their own that Blizzard wouldn't be able to pull off.
Hopefully.
I'm sure there are people who know World of Warcraft better than us who could make a list of things that could be better.
Yeah, just follow the World of Warcraft subreddit.
Yeah, maybe.
You'll get the lowdown.
But those are also the same people that, like the same type of people that are in the Destiny subreddit saying, time to kill is dumb. Like, I saw a video today, real quick. Saw a video today of the PvP match, and they calculated the new time to kill, where a normal kinetic weapon right now, a 600 RPM kinetic auto rifle in Destiny 2, right now it takes 1 second to kill. The new TTK is 0.9 seconds. And people are like, woo! It's like, it's a millisecond. It doesn't make a difference. It's a millisecond.
Makes a millisecond
you can't
of a
even,
difference.
I don't even think you can see a frame in a millisecond. Like, it doesn't make a difference, but whatever.
I mean, but that's how they're cool by claiming that they can tell the difference between a millisecond and a second kill. If tech website Thurrott also, so let me go ahead and say this real fast before we go on. Thurrott, it's a tech website. Now, the way that every fucking article that wrote about this, like, talked about Thurrott, they said it in a way like everyone knows what it is. And I had no idea what it was until like 2 seconds ago. So maybe, like, people should stop assuming that we know every other website on the fucking internet.
It's a terrible name.
Is to be believed that Xbox may be launching 2 new consoles next generation. The code-named Scarlet consoles will feature a more traditional box and a streaking console, I like that, that will support Microsoft's streaming platform, codenamed the Scarlet Cloud.
That's your phone auto-correcting streaming to streaking.
Except I really
How often do you use the word? What does that say about Trey?
The focus of this new generation of consoles is that Microsoft doesn't want you to notice the difference between playing a game using a game streaming console or a full classic-style console. However, to do this, Thurrott reports that the streaming box will be more expensive than those sold in stores today, but much cheaper overall than buying a dedicated console. This is due to the extra hardware installed that is supported to help with smoother latencies while streaming. I don't know if I believe any of this.
I do. We talked about this like 6 months ago, where people were like, the next generation of consoles, they want it to be like streaming, like Netflix video games. Like, I totally believe this is a thing that's coming, and I think if anybody's going to do it first, it's going to be Microsoft.
So I mean,
Sony's sure as hell not going to do it.
Well, Sony is already doing it
poorly.
Was it
with PlayStation Now?
No.
Sure,
but like
that's not poorly. That's actually, it works pretty well.
It works well if you have good internet,
right?
But that's why I don't believe this. I don't believe that Xbox is going to sell 2 different SKUs of the same console. I think it's going to be more.
But it's different consoles. One's streaming and one's regular.
But why? I guess I don't understand why. So apparently, it has hardware in it that reduces latency. Whatever, fine. But we've already determined PlayStation Now works fairly well, and I don't have to go buy a PlayStation Now console to enjoy PlayStation Now. So why would like Microsoft split its eggs like that?
Because I also think PlayStation Now doesn't play PlayStation 4 games. We only have PlayStation 2 and PlayStation 3. Something that's not like
true.
Not
I mean, like,
super
but like the next
graphically intensive.
But you would imagine the next generation should be able to, especially if they're building it.
Am I saying
for
this
that
thing's going to be
purpose.
like super easy and popular? Absolutely not. Like, this is for the guy who's like has the his fucking man cave and the giant 120-inch screen and like every console known to man and glass cases and the guy I'm talking about, right?
Bud Light neon signs.
That's who the streaming Xbox is for. Is that guy?
I think that launching two separate consoles of this is not only bad because I don't feel like anyone's gonna buy the streaming console.
I agree.
No one really wants that.
I agree.
People are more likely to use a service if it's already integrated with a system that they like. Second issue is that it reflects poorly on Xbox. It still shows that they are unwilling to commit to any one idea.
Yep, I agree.
And they already are behind this generation because they wouldn't commit to an idea. And they're going to be in the same place. Like, what happens if they put all these consoles out there and all we buy is the physical box?
Right.
The one that actually plays games on it. I don't want to buy the streaming box.
I agree.
But you know what? You can talk me into using your service. Hey, here's the Xbox Scarlet. It not only can play games traditionally, but you can also stream games, and there's hardly any difference.
God, I hope it's called the Xbox 2.
Yeah?
Yeah, I really do.
The Xbox 720, you mean?
No, just the 2.
I don't think it's necessarily out of the question that they would release 2, but I think it would be very silly to release a console that brings in an idea that they have not introduced yet. Like, you are not going to sell people on streaming games if you have never done this before. Like, on your next generation, sure, have it in there. And then maybe the one after that, sure, maybe then go to just streaming only or have that as an option. But you don't come out with a console that's just like, this just streams game, because your community, your consumers have not been trained to know what that is or not like it.
You can if you market it correctly. If you market it, let's say this does happen. Let's say at E3 2020, Microsoft announces these two consoles, and one is a streaming console. If they market correctly and say, literally, this is a console where you can play every video game coming out in the next generation with a Netflix subscription. Like, I think, that sounds super, super enticing. Is it gonna be good for us? Absolutely not. Is it gonna be good for the rural people who don't have internet? No, 100% not. But like, just sugarcoat it and literally listen to what I'm saying. A console where you pay $30 a month, any game you want to play. Sounds great, doesn't it? Sounds absolutely no going to GameStop and buying the game, no downloading games, no waiting 4 hours for your game to update. You just play it.
But
sounds great. So
Xbox partners with what was that? GameFly.
Sure,
they just bring GameFly to like
sounds super
streaming.
great.
So it's not that I don't see the enticing parts about streaming games, right? I think that streaming games is probably going to be in our future. I just think that future is a little bit further away than everyone else wants it to be. I think that the internet speeds just aren't there yet, even here.
Oh, sure.
Can you imagine if me and Whitney were trying to stream games?
Sure,
at the
the
same
three
time?
of us know, but one of us, 100%.
Sure, but like, how often is just one person in this house playing video games?
Well, I mean,
after 5 p.m.
Sure, but look at it this way: this streaming thing already exists. Like when we're playing Elder Scrolls or WoW online, that's literally what we're doing. There are certain parts of the game that are loaded onto our computers, of course, but for the most part, we're streaming this thing. We're streaming that game, basically.
Well, I mean the bigger part of this has like really nothing to do with the process, right? Like I if it works and it's fine and it's no different than playing a game on console, I'm down for it. But the next issue you run into is in that report, Thurrott is saying that the Xbox One streaming console is going to be cost more than the base model.
Yeah, which is $300 right now.
Well,
it says it's going to cost more than the Xbox's costs
Xbox
now.
Right now.
One X costs
$500, right?
So we're looking at like to me it sounds like a $600 box.
Sure.
And although over time that price might mitigate itself, that like you're not going to convince me to buy your streaming box when I already don't believe that the technology supports it for $600. It's just not going to happen. So you're letting the service like go out and die. So just integrate it in your box, make it affordable, and then when it's the most popular thing ever, because it will get there soon, it'll get to a point where the Scarlet Cloud service is going to be great. That's when you launch your full streaming box that is super, super powerful.
Why are we calling it the Scarlet Cloud service?
So the rumor for the Xbox consoles is codenamed Scarlet. The code name for the cloud service is called the Scarlet Cloud, which sounds like a bloody fart to me, but
Oh my god,
that's weird.
That's what Scarlet Witch turned into at the end of Infinity War.
Spoilers.
If you haven't seen that movie by now, that's on you. I'm sorry.
I haven't seen it.
That's on you.
I spoiled it like the day after I saw it.
Oh, I know. I don't care. Just saying, I haven't seen it.
If you've been on the internet for the past 6 months, you know what happened.
According to PC Gamer, Nintendo has recently filed a lawsuit against 2 ROM sites. Love Retro and Love ROMs are the target of the lawsuit, being told to remove all Nintendo titles from its servers and pay statutory damages of around $150,000 per Nintendo title and $2 million for each trademark infringement.
Jesus Christ! Can you imagine how much that is?
Along with handing
Just
over,
bill it to us. It's okay.
Along with handing over domain names and sources of their ROMs. In response to the lawsuit, Love ROMs has removed all Nintendo games from their website, while games for other consoles still remain available, whereas Love Retro has effectively been shut down until further notice.
Can you imagine how much that is? $2 million per trademark infringement. So you got to think like Pokemon, Mario. That's already $4 million. Zelda, $6 million.
Earthbound,
Metroid, $8 million. Earthbound, $10 million. Star Fox, $12 million. Holy shit!
And then they could get even deeper by going like, oh well, like you got like Luigi and Yoshi. And
yeah,
like
sure, Luigi. But then 1.5. So 150,000 per Nintendo title. Pokemon Red, Blue, Green, Yellow, Ruby, Sapphire, Crystal, Gold. Oh my god! Oh my god!
Yeah,
they're up shit creek. Hard.
Well, as a Switch owner, I say get them, Nintendo.
Speaking of
protect
a
my
Switch owner that
titles.
still doesn't have Virtual Console.
Speaking of the Scarlet Cloud, it's exactly
Yeah.
what they're doing.
So on one hand, I think all this is fine. It's great. Nintendo has a right to protect their intellectual property, and they should, and all that. But on the other hand, Nintendo, if you made it really fucking easy to buy your games and you didn't release 3 retro new consoles and then make us rebuy all our games since Wii U on every new console that you developed, people wouldn't steal your fucking games.
Very true.
People still would.
No, the degrees to which that would happen would be significant.
Right.
If I could go to the Switch right now and buy Pokemon Red and play it on the Switch, you would have had my $10 in a heartbeat.
But you can buy it on 3DS and then rebuy it when it comes out on the Switch, Chris. Don't you want to do that? Like, that's the fucking bullshit part about this. Like, I don't want to be in support of the ROM sites because I do think they're doing something wrong. However, there are some games that I've had to play on ROM sites because there's no like feasible way to get it, unless I want to go buy a 5-year-old console and try to track it down. Like,
it's very true.
It's just silly. Like, just put your software out there. And also, there's for a while the Star Wars Super Star Wars or whatever it was called. For a while you couldn't play that anywhere except for on ROM sites.
Yeah.
Because of licensing agreements. Shit, like you can't even play something like Alan Wake right now because music licenses expired, and so they just took the game off Steam.
Yep.
You can't go buy Alan Wake anywhere right now unless you find it in a physical copy for 360, and even then, like that's getting pretty hard to find too.
That's crazy.
Like no one is preserving games or making them accessible, and then they wonder why people are using ROM sites.
They wonder why people don't want games to go digital.
Yeah.
I think that's a bigger issue here.
We forgot to pay our licensing agreement for this song, so yeah, it's just
it's like Niantic. Pokemon Go was down for a good day, like 4 or 5 months ago, maybe a year. I don't know how long ago it was. Pokemon Go was down for an entire day because Niantic didn't renew their fucking whatever license they have for the servers to house Pokemon Go. They didn't pay a rental fee, so Pokemon Go got shut down for a day.
Look, man,
there's your game. There's all your fucking money you just spent into it.
When you get a new credit card, sometimes you forget to update all your new stuff.
You were too busy taking a vacation on our yacht.
Your automatic bill payments, sometimes they don't go through.
That's a whole nother conversation, but it's the Marvel Heroes thing, man. $200 just down the drain for me, man. Down the drain.
But the worst thing about that is that like Marvel Heroes is a legitimately good game.
Great, right? It was a great game.
Like it's a fun game. Yeah. There was
no
way
reason
to
for
play
it should go. Like
huh?
There was no reason for it to just.
But you can't but you can't even play it
right.
now. Yeah. Like in 10 years, when Chris is still talking about Marvel Heroes, because he will be.
That $200 in 10 years, that'll be like.
Well, but like no,
$201.
But it's not about the money; it's about the preservation,
right?
Yeah.
Like his, like little niece. The adopted niece that he gave to his new adopted brother. I don't know.
What are you talking about?
I'm trying to think of like how a child would exist in your life.
Adoption laws are really lax in the future.
this child in your life, you'll be like, back in my day, there was this game called Marvel Heroes, and she's gonna go on her space brain computer and like try to play that game, and she won't be able to find it because it won't exist. Because no one cares about the preservation of video games. Meanwhile, fucking Alamo Drafthouse like is obsessed with collecting like as many films as possible. They support their own like film preservation thing. They preserve like the shittiest fucking films from 90 years ago, and we can't find a way to preserve technology from a year ago.
I don't think it's we can't figure out how. I think it's just people consider movies and films to be an art, whereas like they're not there yet.
However, I also think it's more of a. I think developers care, but companies don't give a shit. Who owned Gazillion? Who was over that?
I think Gazillion was the pub. I don't know. I'll look it up.
Okay, but then Disney bought it. Oh, well, Disney bought Marvel.
Yeah.
And then which that came with it. And then Disney was like, I don't care. I literally do not care about this game because it does not follow canon. It does not support the Marvel universe. Shut it down. That's there's your issue is the big box.
Yep.
And I think developers, of course, like no, we need to preserve we put our blood, sweat, and tears into this game for years, and now there's. With the exception of maybe, I literally see this, like you open a door and there's a computer like with a spotlight on it and it's all dirty and shit. That is what houses Marvel Heroes right now. Marvel Heroes is on that computer. And once that computer dies, Marvel Heroes is gone. You know what I mean?
If you could find some way to play Marvel Heroes, how much money would you pay to own that thing?
I don't know.
You would have all your $200 characters there.
I don't know. Like at least $5. It's just that's the problem is that we all care about the preservation of video games, but big box doesn't.
Well,
they just don't.
Well, that's because like I don't know. It's like we said, like movies are now considered like an art form, whereas video games are very much still just a
hobby, a toy.
It's a means to an end as far as like as a company. How many years?
The company sees it as means to an end.
Exactly.
And a lot of consumers still just see it as toys.
Right.
Yeah.
Because company sees this as a game or as a toy that they are building for children.
Yep.
We are a toy manufacturer that instead of creating a physical toy, we're creating an electronic toy.
Yeah.
And how much money are we going to invest in this up front and how much are we getting later on? Once nobody's playing it, doesn't matter.
Yeah, shut it down.
Whereas like movies, it's like people can study these films and enjoy them from like 90 years ago, watching original, I don't know, 8mm film.
I whether or not that's the way that the world actually works is like kind of a conversation that I just can't get behind because I think that there is a right side of history on this. I think there is an undeniably right side of history on this. And it doesn't matter whether or not you actually believe it. It is something that we as humans have created, and the way that product exists is no different than literature or art or movies or music or anything else. And so there will be a time in 50, 40, 30 years where people are going to regret not having put the effort in now. And we can there is a right side of history on this, an undeniably right side, because the way that this product functions is no different than all the other things that we try to preserve. I mean, there are museums full of toys, just regular toys, nothing special about those toys. We think that it's worthwhile, and the average person would agree that it's worthwhile to preserve Barbies from the 70s.
60s.
60s, 70s. I just used
50s.
I picked a random date. But we as like the average person would agree that it's worth preserving toys from the 60s and 70s. And the fact that the average person doesn't agree, it's like, well, you're just wrong. Yeah. Like there's no debate or way to rationalize it. You're wrong, and we're all going to regret this in 30 years.
Right, and that's the crazy thing too. Like a toy. People preserve toys a lot of times because they tie it to the time period that it's from. Like, you know, this toy was around whenever X, Y, and Z was happening in this country and this politics, and it's amazing. Whereas like these video games that we're playing, that some of them aren't getting preserved, most of them aren't getting preserved. There are these amazing stories that in time could be gone forever. And that's like, well, I mean, that's what happened to like before we had like a written language. Like a lot of these just like told stories are just gone.
That's also our own fault because there's physical media was the best way. It's really easy to preserve physical media.
Right.
It's really easy to preserve a book where the story is written as opposed to having a book on your phone. Because as soon as that phone dies and the only copy of that book is on it, that book is gone forever. Mm-hmm. It's gone, not getting it back, ever happening again. Music and movies are kind of the same way now too. Like music in the 70s, you laid down tracks to a tape, and you took that tape. Here's my album. This is the master for my album. I can stick it in a glass case and it will be preserved forever. Now you cut a record, it's digital. Sure, it goes everywhere, and it's really easy to get it out, and everybody has a copy of the latest Taylor Swift album, and there's no question in the world that album, you're going to be able, in 50 years, you'll be able to find a copy of it. However, if something goes wrong and the lights go out, it's all gone because there's no physical media anymore, which is one of the reasons I'm always all for, like, I'd just rather just buy the disc, you know what I mean? Or I'd rather just I want the physical thing in my hand for reasons like that. Like, you know, will the lights ever go out? Probably not, but it could.
Well, but the thing about digital media is that you can make it physical media. Whereas one of the problems that you have with physical media, one of the problems that you have with physical media is that it deteriorates. It's one of the problems that Alamo Drafthouse, and it's a subsidiary of Alamo Drafthouse that does this, but that's a problem that they have with a lot of films that they recover, is that they painstakingly have to remake this film and then transfer it to
because they weren't well taken care of. If you take care of the things, they won't deteriorate. That's the thing. It's if you take the effort to preserve, it will always be there. Cassettes, records, vinyl, as long as you take care of that thing will last forever.
But part of the issue is too that, like, when we look at the early 20th century to mid 20th century, it was one of the best times for science, right? That's when we had some of the best advancements in medicine and biology and everything else. And a lot of people like to think that we're stagnating in the 21st century because we're not advancing in those particular fields in the same way that we were.
Even though we're about to send citizens to the moon.
But but we are progressing in technology. Like, the growth in technology over the last 20, 30 years, just it far exceeds growth in hundreds of years from past centuries. And it's funny to me that
aliens,
people aren't willing to accept how much video games and a desire for that entertainment has progressed technology. You know, people wanted their games to be more powerful. They wanted them to run better and run faster, and that helped push technology along. The App Store has helped push mobile fucking device development forward. And when we're looking back on this century, on the 21st century, a lot of people are going to be sad that we didn't preserve those games, because they'll realize how important they were just to this generation of technology growing.
Mm-hmm. Games, sure. Music, no. Music's bad now. It's just bad. All of it's bad.
Is that how you feel?
Yeah, it's real bad.
What about Taylor Swift?
I mean, she's enjoyable, but...
What about Demi Lovato?
I don't know who that is.
You know who Demi Lovato is?
No. Well, I've had this conversation with you guys before, and I ask, and anytime music comes up, I always ask the same questions, like, can you honestly tell me a song written in the last 10 years that will go down in history as one of the greatest songs ever written? You can't, because you cannot compare it to something like Stairway to Heaven. Or
Friday.
You cannot compare
Rebecca
it to
Black.
You cannot compare it to something like Sinatra or any of the, like Frankie Valli, or any. You just can't compare it. You can't. I will never, ever, ever in 50 years compare Taylor Swift to Buddy Holly.
You know, but
it's never going to happen.
But the funny thing is, though, not to harp on this too long, because we do have to move on and then finish. But not to harp on this too long, though, the thing about music today, though, is that it's also ruined music from the past to a certain degree, because you talk about these transcendent experiences that you've had with some of these songs that are, I think, widely considered the best songs ever, right?
I don't know about a transcendent experience.
No, but the way you talk about it is, it sounds like a transcendent experience.
No,
it sounds like
it's something that forwarded music.
But the way that you talk about, like, the first time you listened to it, or the first time, like, you heard that song.
Oh, sure, maybe.
I don't think it's... I've had that feeling with songs before, but it's never been like, this is the best song ever written. I've never had that experience with music. Even when I go back and listen to these songs that are considered some of the best songs of all time, it's like current music has ruined all music for young people.
Oh, that's so terrible. So fucking terrible.
Yeah. Well,
you can't. So you can't go listen to the Beatles and literally sit there and be like, "Holy shit, this is amazing."
I don't really like the Beatles, but the funny thing is that like, it's not that I feel, and maybe this is just me. I'm not a music person, so let me put that out there. But like, I don't feel that way about really. I don't feel super passionately about like any music.
Sure.
And a lot of the music that I do feel super passionately about and the artists that I feel passionately about are people that I heard when I was in like middle school.
Which is fair. It's music that was a part of your life, is like Panic at the Disco. I'm sure you heard Panic at the Disco at the exact moment in your life that you needed to hear it, and it stuck with you for the rest of your life. That's 100% a thing. Like, that's still the reason I think fucking like this sounds really dumb, but I fucking love Creed. I do. I love Creed's first album, and it is the epitome of douche rock. Was that
when they were still considered Christian rock?
Yes, yeah. It was the band that started douche rock. Nickelback wouldn't exist if Creed didn't exist.
What a world!
What a fucking world! But I loved that first album of Creed, and it's just because it was at a time when, like, that's when I was in high school. I really enjoyed weightlifting, and that was a perfect album to lift weights to. So, like, you listen to Linkin Park's first album too. Great album. But
Linkin Park is great.
Yeah. Anyway, but yeah, I always ask that question, and nobody can answer it.
But I also think that there's a thing about music, and I think music is the worst about this. You almost can't talk about music with people because talking about it immediately opens you up to criticism that you can't get with other stuff. Like, you can say Final Fantasy VII is your favorite game of all time, and I can say I think that Final Fantasy X is the best Final Fantasy. And while we don't agree, there's like a mutual amount of respect to where we don't like tear someone up. But if you say, what's the best song that's ever existed, and I say This Is Gospel by, in the last 10 years, and I say This Is Gospel by Panic at the Disco, it doesn't matter if it's you or anyone else. Someone is likely to tear you a new asshole and tell you why your opinion's wrong.
It's very true. And that's the thing is, like, if you compare This Is Gospel to fucking Stairway to Heaven, like, there's no comparison. Like, it's just.
But it's like, if I truly feel that way, if I feel like This Is Gospel compares.
Yeah, I see what you mean.
Like, and that's the problem, is you immediately were like, well, they're not the same though. Like, but if I felt that way, I couldn't have that opinion. You can't talk, like, you cannot have an opinion about music unless like you're talking to someone that agrees with you.
Well, music is just so it's just really different. Like, movies, like with like a movie, like, you can figure out like, oh, like, what's your favorite movie, and like there's like things can be like subjective with movies. Like, you can be like, well, the story's not very good because of X, Y, and Z, and the acting was really good, or blah 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 blah. Whereas like music, it's like, but if you're comparing music, more than likely each band or each musician, they're both pretty good. Like, obviously, they wouldn't be making these multi-million-dollar tracks if they're not talented. But it is super subjective. Different. Yeah, it's so different.
So, like, movies, I don't understand.
Right.
One of my favorite movies of all time is The Covenant, and it's like a 4% on Rotten Tomatoes. I don't that showed me today. I just whenever I showed Whitney, I don't understand movies. But this is also somebody who thinks, like, I understand that Gone with the Wind is considered one of the best. Hold on, it's considered one because it is. It's on was it AFI? That's not right.
IMDb?
No, AFI. The fucking American film. Is it AFA?
I don't know.
Oh, am I supposed to know?
Yes, because you're the one that watches fucking movies all the time. I think it's called AFI. American Film Industry has a top 100. Institute maybe has a top 100 movies of all time, and Citizen Kane and Gone with the Wind are usually number 1 and 2. I don't understand it because I think, and my mom hates me when I say this, acting back then so terrible, so bad.
It's different.
It was bad. They didn't act like normal human beings.
No,
they just were like,
there's a style.
Oh, right, and it's like, no, like, that's not. You're not acting like a normal human being.
They were transitioning.
Like, I don't know what the hell you're trying to get across, but it's not working.
Most of those movies were in this key part of history where we were transitioning heavily from like live entertainment to film. So live entertainment, everything has to be huge because you're on stage.
However, I've gone and watched you live and you are 1,000 times better than any movie made in the 50s. But that's my point. You are doing live acting, and I can tell you're on stage over exaggerating. I can tell when what play was that at the Texas Theater when you were doing a play at Texas Theater. I don't remember what it was.
Charlie Brown?
No, it was like a weird. Anyway, I could tell you were over exaggerating, but at no point in my head was I thinking like, God, this is fucking ridiculous.
But let me ask you a question though. Like, imagine all the different elements that make up a movie, right? And now imagine that we were laying them up on a pie chart. What percentage of the pie chart would acting take up as like as an element of the movie that's really important to you?
What? Yeah. What? I mean, to me.
Yeah. To you specifically.
I mean, I just don't want to watch a movie where it's like they're acting ridiculous.
No, but like, how important is acting to you on that pie chart? Like, compared to everything else that makes up a movie.
So I'm gonna take Star Wars because to me that's the best movie of all time.
Okay.
So
which Star Wars?
Last
Jedi. Last Jedi.
Yeah, Last Jedi. Right. So so let's take that for example. If Luke and Rey had any of those scenes, especially when Rey kind of like fell to the embrace the dark side.
Like, where art thou, Rey?
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like if at any point in time Luke or Mark Hamill did the whole Scarlett O'Hara type acting, I would have been done. Like the movie would have been ruined for me because of the way he was acting. But the point is he was acting like a real human being. But so acting's, I guess when you put it like that, it's super important to me. Like I don't want. But that's the thing is like I don't care that much about movies, but acting's really important. Story and acting are probably top 2, I would say.
It's probably like 30-30 each.
Yeah, I guess. And then like the action is cool. And like the lightsaber fights are neat, but like that's not needed.
The reason why I asked that question though is just because when I think about like the movies that I really like, acting obviously probably takes up like a quarter of my pie chart. You know, if the actors aren't believable, that's going to ruin the movie for me in a more substantial way than other parts. But I also think that like a movie that doesn't have great acting, that is filmed uniquely, or that does interesting things with the music, and I can't think of a specific example because I feel like typically when you check a box, acting is one of the first boxes that you check when you're checking these other ones. But I feel like, and that's one of the things with Gone with the Wind is not only I think people like it. I don't. I think it's a horrible movie. But I think the reason why it's considered one of the best movies of all time is that like visually, musically, and just in terms of where it was at compared to other movies that came out at the time, it was so advanced.
Sure, I guess.
I think that like if that movie was made in 2018, no one would care about it. But because it was made in what, the 50s, 60s?
I
50s.
Because it was made in the 50s.
Definitely not in color.
People like hold it to a way higher degree because it's like, well, it's like a gleaming,
it was in
tiny diamond in a pile of shit.
Sure, but that's what I mean. Like, how can you go and watch that movie now compared to every other movie that's out and sit there and 40, wasn't it?
39.
39, yeah. I was going to say that it wasn't even in Technicolor.
Yeah, no, it was black and white.
But that's the thing is like, how can you sit down and watch that movie now?
I have that problem with video games.
And enjoy it.
I have that problem with video games, though. Is I was talking to someone the other day and they were like, so like, what do you do for fun? And I was like, oh, I play a lot of games. And they're like, are you a retro gamer? And I'm like, well, no.
I'm sorry.
And I was like, I still enjoy some old games, but no, not really. And they're like, oh, that's all I play. And I was like, yeah, I don't, because I think that games are better now than they used to be.
Sure,
like,
of course.
Even if you look at what we determined through a traumatic vetting process, Star Wars: Knights of the Old Republic is my favorite game of all time, right? I love that game. Like, part of the reason why I refuse to go back and play it, though, is because I don't want to ruin it.
I've tried.
Because I know...
I have.
Yeah.
I have it on my PC right now.
That I'm going to compare it to some other game that I've played, and that was the problem with Mass Effect 2.
Yep.
For the longest time, I thought it was Mass Effect 2, because Mass Effect 2 is a better game.
Yep.
It is undeniably a better game than Star Wars: Knights of the Old Republic. But the emotions attached to the games are different.
Yep.
I feel that way about games all the time. I'm like, retro gaming is cool. But I think that people that are out there that are like, Pokemon Red is the best Pokemon game, I think you're a little bit dumb.
Yeah, I agree.
Because I think that like...
everybody knows it's fucking X and Y.
I believe it's Platinum. That was... Platinum's just so good.
X and Y was the one, though, you could get everything.
X and Y was like the easiest fucking Pokemon game ever.
I take that back as gold. Gold's best Pokemon.
Gold's
game.
great.
Yeah, Gold's
or Sapphire. Sapphire's great too.
You know what? Middle ground, Heart Gold, Soul Silver.
Yeah,
there we go.
God, those are good Pokemon.
But
games.
like, I feel that way about games all the time. It's like you can love a game, and I'm not saying that your love for the game is bad, but I'm saying that like if you legitimately believe
Super Mario Brothers is better than Mass Effect 2, then you're fucking crazy.
or like even on level playing grounds, like Super Mario Brothers is better than Mario Odyssey.
You're fucking
crazy.
Yeah.
Like there's no way that you can justify that. And it's okay if you like it more, but I think that we like in a level of objectivity, games are better now than they ever have been. And there are still some good games. Like that's why I still like Mega Man, right? Mega Man is a game that is held up for 30 years. It is still, you can still play it. Yeah. I can give it to a 6-year-old and they're going to enjoy it in the same way that they enjoy other games.
Throw that fucking controller just as hard as you did when you were 6.
Yeah.
Yep.
And that's what like, I don't know.
Well, that's how I feel about like you brought up the Beatles earlier. I'm not a huge fan of the Beatles, but I appreciate what they did for the industry and music as a whole.
Sure,
and I feel the same way.
Yeah,
it's and there are some Beatles songs that I can go back and I really enjoy. Like,
sure, but and so to compare, like before we end this, to compare, like it's at least in my eyes, this is my own objective opinion. I can't honestly say that. Where I can say now, Mass Effect 2 is a better game, or let's say Mario Odyssey is a better game than Super Mario Brothers. We have evolved in the gaming industry where games are getting better and better and better and better. I can't say that about music. Because in 1960, when the Beatles debuted on Ed Sullivan, that right there did more for the music industry than Taylor Swift ever has.
Right.
And that album, the White Album, did more for the music industry than Taylor Swift's 22 did ever. Did she sell more albums? Yeah, absolutely. But she did not do anything compared to the Beatles. And it's crazy to me that music is completely backwards. Where film is the exact same opposite with video games. It's with video games like Gone with the Wind's a great movie, blah blah blah. But Last Jedi. Like that is such a good movie from every sense of the word. Acting, cinematography, just the visuals of that. When the hyperdrive, when they go through and they blow the ship apart, that visual is just so fucking good.
One of the best scenes in movies.
You'll rarely see visuals that good in movies, and it's evolved and they get better and better and better. Where like a music, it's getting worse and worse and worse. It just sucks.
Well, it depends too, because like it's
the only form of media, in my personal opinion, that's just getting worse.
For me, by what you judge how good like music is, basically, what do I want to listen to more? Like I can go back and listen to the Beatles, and I can say like, yeah, like objectively they were better. But if I'm turning on the radio, I'm probably not going to jam to the Beatles. I'm probably going to jam to like, I don't know, like All American Rejects. I think it's they're completely different.
I think it's the Steam Greenlight problem though.
Yeah.
It's that music is more accessible to anyone than it's ever been before, and I think that good music and unique music exists out there.
Sure, it's just really
but
fucking
it's
hard to
really
find.
hard to find.
Yeah.
Speaking of things that are hard to find, it's hard to find a hobby that isn't addicting, and that's why our topic this week is going to be whether or not games addiction is a real thing. Yeah, he should be good.
That'd be quick.
Fine.
So yeah, there's this whole hullabaloo about video game addiction.
I don't know what that means.
Hullabaloo.
Is that the bear from the Jungle Book?
Yep.
Yeah.
Hullabaloo. But basically, for all intents and purposes, I believe it was in the DSM 5 or 6, which is the.
Is the bear from the Jungle Book the same bear that was in Tailspin?
What's
What?
Tailspin?
The bear in Tailspin that flew the plane. The gray bear in Tailspin. The
No.
Disney one, like it was Darkwing Duck, Rescuers Down Under, and Tailspin.
I'll look it up. Continue.
Actually, why do you think it's the same bear?
I don't know, because they're both named Baloo, aren't they?
I don't know. I actually have never seen Tailspin. When did Tailspin come out?
No, that's long. That's when I was a kid, guys. Tailspin was a thing that when I was a kid.
So yeah, I don't know exactly what happened, but there is essentially this year video game addiction got classified as a real thing.
Okay.
And I think that the initial response from gamers was to disregard that and say like, hey, like this isn't real. You're just trying to hurt our hobby. Because
ouch.
Any criticism that comes to video games now is an attack on the hobby. Because for a while we had to defend ourselves from stupid attacks.
Can you imagine Reddit right now and that discussion? Dear God.
Yeah, it's just a mess of virgins being mad that they're the only thing they love is being taken away.
Before we go on, to clear the air, different Baloo.
It is a different Baloo.
Based on the same character design.
Okay, but it's a different Baloo.
This Baloo, 4 fingers.
Maybe the other Baloo went through a war.
You don't know.
The other Baloo has claws. The other one has claws. This one is a pilot, so he has fingers.
Got it. Okay.
But anyway.
Can't fly with claws.
Got it.
Anyway. So yeah, the whole thing that I want to talk about is whether or not we thought that gaming addiction was a real thing. We started good conversation that we had to stop. So I guess where do you guys land on that issue?
I think I don't know. Like, I fully acknowledge addictions are a thing, and I believe they are real. And like I was saying, I would say I'm addicted to World of Warcraft right now. However, not in a negative sense. It's not affecting my work. It's not affecting my personal life. It's not affecting things that I need to do.
Right.
But any free time I have, I'm playing World of Warcraft.
And see, and we kind of started talking about that earlier. To me, and I don't know
would that be considered an addiction?
I wouldn't.
Okay.
To me, and I don't know, somebody could look up the actual definition of addiction. I believe that an addiction inherently has to be negative. It has to affect your life in a negative way in some way, because you can be addicted to healthy things in a sense of like you can be addicted to working out. Whereas working out by itself is super healthy, but if you're addicted to it, it can get in the way of things that you need to do.
The definition of addiction is the fact or condition of being addicted to a particular substance, thing, or activity. That doesn't. What? Thanks, Google. You dumb piece of shit.
Here's the thing: if a definition uses the word in its definition, you've accomplished nothing.
Yeah, literally. Okay. Compulsive need for and use of a habit-forming substance, such as heroin, nicotine, alcohol, characterized by tolerance and well-defined physiological symptoms upon withdrawal. Broadly, persistent compulsive use of a substance known by the user to be harmful. So yes, in a negative aspect, that's using drugs, but you can literally put games or anything into that.
Right. So anything can be addictive.
Also, according to the National Institute on Drug Abuse, addiction is considered a brain disorder because it involves functional changes to brain circuits involved in reward, stress, and self-control. And those changes may last a long time after a person has stopped partaking in their addiction.
Okay, so me saying, at least according to definitions of addiction, I am nowhere near addicted to World of Warcraft.
Right, but people use that word very loosely.
Sure, it seems like it, because I would.
You enjoy playing World of Warcraft.
Yeah, I would have considered that, because all my free time has been going to World of Warcraft. I mean, I would have considered myself addicted to that game.
If you were addicted to World of Warcraft, it would no longer just be your free time. It would be you are missing work because of World of Warcraft.
Sure. I'm harming my body because I haven't got up for 14 hours.
It's like the South Park episode where like Cartman's just like, Mom, bathroom, hot pockets.
Real fast, just to clarify one more thing. The World Health Organization is the one that's kind of behind this push. They're classifying it as gaming disorder, and it's going to appear in a new draft of the organization's internal classification of diseases.
I think it's a good thing because people have died playing video games.
Yes.
Like legitimately just keeled over dead because they did not get up for an extended period of time. They developed a blood clot and then dead.
It's a big thing in
China. Yeah. That's why they put time limits on their internet in China.
Yep.
Like, I think it's good if that's the question. Do I think gaming addiction's a thing? Yes. So apparently.
I think that gaming addiction is a thing, and I think it's a serious thing, and I think it's a thing that like we shouldn't just come out and disregard right away. I think that when you look at, we talked about a lot of games today, right? That kind of create negative emotions. Destiny 2 has been creating negative emotions for us for the past 2 months. Overwatch, Rocket League, all these games rely on you wanting to do well in order to keep playing them, right? Whether it's getting rewards or whether it's winning a match, you get your enjoyment from doing well in those things. And you talked about Taylor earlier, how Taylor has a hard time like stopping playing when he's on a losing streak. I've also been in that place before. It happened to me the other day in Destiny 2's Crucible. I was like, I am not going to stop playing until I fucking win a match because this is ridiculous.
But you're addicted, Trey.
But the whole thing is, and that's my point though. Like that's not a healthy behavior. Like that's not a healthy behavior you should have with anything.
Right.
There's obviously something addicting about a video game, whether it's just the fact that it's fun or the fact that we enjoy doing it or we enjoy playing with our friends. But there's something about a video game or addicting about a video game when we can sit here and bitch about the same game for 2 months and immediately sign in the night after we got done complaining about it.
Sure, but that would be. But do you consider that an addiction?
I do consider that an addiction because.
But compared to this, what we just talked about, it's not affecting our lives in such a negative fashion that those meanings are applicable.
But to me, like, time is a currency in your life. It's a very valuable currency. It's a currency I waste, but it's a valuable currency because you only have so much of it. And the fact that like we are living beings, right? And we can decide to waste 4 hours trying to get one gun in Destiny 2 and still keep doing it until it's done, even though we kind of agree that it's a waste of time to sit there for 4 hours and grind for the same thing that we can't guarantee is going to happen. The fact that we're still willing to do that shows a level of addiction. If I had to wait in line on Sunday for 4 hours for the Pikachu pop, dude, I love pops. I'm starting to love them less and less, but I wouldn't do it. I wouldn't wait 4 hours for a fucking Pikachu pop. I would leave the line.
I think it's a loose. I think what we're like. I'm in the same boat. Like I said, I consider myself like addicted to WoW, but not in a negative sense. And I'm agreeing with you. Like I'm sure were we addicted to Destiny? Yeah, because we just wasted 4 hours out of my Saturday to get a damn gun. Sure, but like in an actual like Merriam-Webster dictionary and World Health Organization definition of addiction, we are not addicted to these games.
But our body does respond to those stimuli. Like when you get into that, like I felt it when we got into that mission. I was like, this is the one chance I'm gonna have to get this weapon, because if I don't get it now, like Chris and Daniel are never gonna help me, and I'm not gonna look for random people to do
but that's not an addiction. That's
So we get into the mission,
but you do get a high from it,
and
sure,
I already felt like those rush of endorphins.
Sure.
Like I felt those endorphins go through my body, and it made me like super nervous because I wanted to succeed and get this. And had I gotten the gun, I guarantee you, like my body would have responded again. Like our body rewards us when we're playing video games. That's how they keep us playing. If it didn't feel good, we wouldn't keep doing it.
I mean, that's the thing is
you don't think that's not causing a physiological side effect to our brains?
I see. For me, like
not a negative, not to the extent that the World Health Organization is talking about. Absolutely not.
In a sense, it is negative. It's video game addiction is different than most other addictions, and that's why it's kind of just now being like talked about and like dealt with, because even the precursors to getting this addiction are unhealthy. Someone can be addicted to playing football or running. Like someone can be addicted to running, and your body over time, like running or working out too much can be very, very bad for your body. But if you're just getting into it as a hobby and it's starting to go more into your free time, like you play WoW, you're going to see positive effects from it.
So that's
but like playing a game, even if you just play it for a few hours, but it becomes like every single day, your body reacts to that in a more negative way than other addictions.
And that was going to be my point. Is that according to the topic at hand, is it, like you said, when it starts to affect you negatively is when it really becomes an addiction. Does that make sense? Forming a negative opinion isn't the same as affecting your body negatively. But heroin and cocaine and hard drugs, they affect your body negatively. But at the time of administration, it's such a rush that you keep wanting that rush, even though it's a negative experience overall. Same with running and working out. There are people that just spend way too much time working out and running, and it's absolutely unhealthy.
Well, let me clarify. Let me clarify something real fast.
That's the biggest word right there, is that when we sit down and play Destiny and WoW and Rocket League and whatever the hell we're playing, we don't play it to a point where it becomes unhealthy.
But let me clarify something real fast. It like you said, and I can't remember the exact way that you worded it, but you said something about playing a game and having it form a negative opinion. That's not what I'm saying. It's not the opinion that matters. It's the time spent. Would you say, objectively, even though you ended up getting the gun after these 4 hours, would you say that those 4 hours, when you look at the grand scheme of your life and the way that you spent that week, do you think that those 4 hours were worth it?
No.
Objectively.
No.
So, but
it wasn't unhealthy. That's the biggest thing right there.
But wouldn't you say that the fact that you didn't stop playing, that you felt a compulsion to keep playing, even though you even knew at the time? Like, I walked out of the house and you guys had just started and you were bitching about it. I came home and you were livid about it. Then you got the gun and everything was fine.
Oh, I was still livid. I was still livid.
Everything was fine for a little while.
Sure. But like 2 minutes we had it and I was livid again.
But wouldn't you say that the compulsion to keep playing, in spite of the fact that even at the time and in retrospect, we can agree that that was a waste of time, wouldn't you say the compulsion to keep playing is unhealthy? Because I would.
No, because in no point in that 4 hours of gameplay did I negatively affect my body other than having a negative opinion about the game, which I've had for the last 2 months. Does that make sense?
But I think what Trey is kind of getting at is, instead of doing this thing that is giving you this negative opinion or this negative like emotion or feeling, you could be doing something different with your time. You could be painting minis.
Sure.
Which is something
but you even
enjoy
said it
doing.
too. Like, Whitney was here trying to rush out like 100 cupcakes, and you were like, "Man, you said at the day of the wedding, like, I probably should have, like, I should have stopped and just helped Whitney."
Sure. Yeah. Absolutely.
But like, I'm not saying that, like, that's one example, right? And there are people that have gone through worse examples, like the people that grinded for 12 hours
Also, to be clear,
straight.
because that made me sound like a complete and utter asshole.
I did not mean to make you sound
Whitney
like an asshole.
did not need the help. I just would have rather had helped her.
Sorry,
with the
I did not mean to
cupcakes.
make you sound like an asshole. That
I
wasn't
just
my
sounded like a
intention.
complete and utter ass. So that did not happen.
Get back in the kitchen.
Whitney was not asking for my help. Whitney was not saying
I did not say
need
that
the
she was
help.
asking for your help.
I'm just saying I would have rather had helped Whitney, even though she didn't need it.
Right.
Just to be clear, I'm not an asshole boyfriend.
I'm sorry. I did not mean to like present you like an asshole. But just the whole point that I'm saying is that, like, is there a ladder of a hierarchy of addictions, right? Drug addiction is probably at the top. It's really bad. Drug addiction's bad.
No, that's the thing is, like, I think drug addiction and video game addiction 100% can be on the same level because they both lead to death. They can both 100%.
One is more likely
death.
to lead to death than the other, right? You're more likely to die from drug addiction than you are from playing video games.
Sure.
So like, and is one
Statistically, yes.
Statistically, sure.
Is one a little bit less serious than the other? Yeah, I would say video game addiction is probably a little bit less serious than the other. But that I don't think that. I don't think that the seriousness of it necessarily changes the fact that it's an addiction, and that it can be unhealthy, and that it's not good for people.
Right.
I mean, there are so many times that I can think of in my life that I should have been doing something else besides playing a video game. Whether it was something for fun or something that I actually needed to do, that I should have been doing something else. And I haven't talked about this on the podcast before, but over the last year, I have drastically decreased the amount of time that I've been playing video games. Some days are better than others, but I realized, I especially realized this the other night, I have a hard time when I start playing a video game, putting it down.
Sure. But there's a key word that you're using right there, and at least in your example, is there are plenty of things I should have been doing. That's the key word right there. I said there are plenty of things I could have been doing. Those are two completely different things. I could have been painting minis. I could have been helping Whitney. I could have slept. I don't know. In no way, shape, or form have I personally ever let a video game get into the way of what I should be doing.
Well,
I.e.,
it just
work, going to the bathroom, eating
I'm
regularly.
I'm not talking about this on a personal level. Like, I'm not trying to say that you're more addicted to video games.
But I'm using the two words, and that's my point. I'm kind of reiterating my point. It's that those two words right there is 100% the key. There are times where it's like when you talk about video games and you say there are things I should have been doing, that's when you're borderline getting into addiction. Instead of saying there are things I could have been doing.
But I think there's a big difference too, because you are in a very different part of your life that a lot of people who play games aren't there yet. not necessarily make your own schedule, but
no, I 100% make my own schedule and have plenty of time.
You work for yourself.
Sure, I can make as much time as I want to play video games.
I know for me, like being in high school or college, like there were plenty of times where I probably should have been spending more time on essays and stuff where you're playing video games. So many people around the world are doing this.
Sure.
It could be argued the fact that
I did the same in college.
It could be argued that any time spent not doing something to better yourself is time wasted. Like when's the last time you ran or worked out?
Sure, it could be argued.
Right.
Sure, absolutely. This morning, it could be argued that absolutely. But that's the thing is that is like I said, I think at least in my eyes, those two words are the key. Like if you're ever saying I should have done this, should have. You probably should have done that. You probably should have eaten. You probably should have gotten up. You probably should have stopped playing this video game and gone and worked and paid your bills. You should have done this. But when you say I could have, that's just another thing an option that you had that day. But I could have been painting minis.
But you also have to think like just because the operative word is changed, it doesn't change the fact that one experience or those two experiences could have produced similar results as a person, which is a confusing sentence, but let me clarify. Say I could have gone for a walk instead of playing video games, right? Go on a walk, have a good time, talk with my friend, get on, listen to a good podcast. I enjoy that hour or 2 hours of my walk and come back. Like the degrees of doing that could also be exponentially better for me as a person as opposed to the 2 hours I would have spent playing a video game in that time.
Sure.
Like and I think the fact that like I can recognize when something that I could be doing or should be doing, I can recognize when that thing would be better for me as a person. I can recognize that, I probably should have gone for that walk instead of played this video game.
Sure.
Even though I didn't have to do it, I could have done it, and it probably would have been better for me. But I still am choosing to play the video game the next time, next day when I'm thinking about going for that walk.
I 100% agree
with
you.
All those things I think support just this idea that like people have an unhealthy relationship with video games. I think that you can listen to the last 8 episodes of our podcast and find different moments where we all had an unhealthy relationship with the game.
Sure.
But there are other things in my life, and I think you especially subscribe to this theory more so than anyone else at this table. What I'm about to say defines you as a person. If I typically don't get the maximum amount of enjoyment from something, if I don't find something mostly rewarding, with the exception of video games in my life, I typically don't do it.
Yep.
I would rather do something that is in almost any case. If I didn't come here every week and have fun, I wouldn't do this. Sure. I wouldn't waste my time doing it.
Yeah, absolutely.
It doesn't matter that we don't have 1 million subscribers on wherever we're going. I come here every week because I enjoy doing this and I have a good time, and this is one of the highlights of my week. But there were times where that wasn't the case.
Sure.
There were times where this was the worst part of my week, and I did almost stop. And that was hard for me too, but it was less hard for me to stop than it is for me to keep doing something that I enjoy.
Sure.
So you subscribe to that more than anyone else.
Of course.
If you don't enjoy doing something, then you stop doing it.
Yep.
But we have this problem all the time with games, and Destiny is just one game out of the fucking mountain of games that we talked about on this podcast, where that way that you live your life doesn't apply.
Sure. But it does, because I've said this multiple times on this podcast. I always have fun playing games with my friends. That supersedes everything negative about Destiny.
Right.
Everything.
You're just not going to spend time on the podcast talking about for hours like,
I had fun with Daniel. Like that the fact that I'm playing a game with my friends supersedes all negative feelings about Destiny. And that's why I play. That's why I still, I guess, but that's why I'm logging into Destiny.
So, but does it? Because the narrative that comes out after you're done with that experience is, for all of us, when you and me specifically, when we play Destiny, and even Ev when he's talked about it lately, the narrative that comes out of that isn't the amount of fun that we had; it's the bad thing that we went through.
Well, that's because that's the most interesting thing to talk about.
But not even necessarily that. I think it's also. I think it's with things that you enjoy or things that you do a lot. I think it's easier to criticize those things.
Sure, like I'm not going to come out of that.
You enjoy playing Destiny so much that you wish that it could be a little bit better.
I'm not going to come out of a session playing with you and Daniel and literally talk to you two after we get done playing Destiny and be like, "Hey guys, remember that time we played Destiny together and had fun? Like, wasn't that awesome?"
I know, but yes, yeah, you're right. Like, it's easier to sit there and criticize it, but I don't remember doing that with other games that I played multiplayer games of.
Sure.
Like and also I don't know how to describe this feeling, and that's why I've been thinking about video game addiction a lot, and why I wanted to talk about it, is that like we're not limited in the multiplayer games that we can play. Like every game is multiplayer correct. Now. We could literally just go play something else, and Daniel would come with us, and we would have a good time, and it'd be great.
I don't know about that, man. That dude's addicted to Destiny. Just kidding.
So it's like obviously the multiplayer thing is a thing, but like we could go play something else.
Yeah.
What is it? Because why do we keep coming back to Destiny?
You honestly, like it's a 4-letter word that dudes are really, really, really scared to say on the second date. Love. I'm not kidding.
But I don't think I love it. Like that's the hard part.
Well, that's the thing is like I do. Like I do love Destiny. I fucking love that game. I love that game almost as much as I love Knights of the Old Republic. I love Destiny. Which is why I still play it. Which is why I log on. I didn't log on this week. So that's the thing. I'm in recession. What is it called? Just kidding. But I do. That's the thing is like, I fucking love that game. I will always love that game. I love Destiny 1 still. I love it. I say it all the time. I fucking love that game. And that's where the negative feelings, at least in my mind, that's where the negative conversations and the negative feelings and the criticizing is justified because I love it. It's criticism. It's my music. I love playing music. I love playing Cedar's music. However, when we have practice, we're always criticizing what we're doing because we love the thing that we're doing. Does it come off negatively? Absolutely.
Especially if you only hear one side of it.
Yeah, absolutely. Hey, Chris, that bass part you're playing was kind of sloppy. Let's do something different. It's like, that's super negative.
Well, however, it's not that I'm trying to talk you out of your love, and it's not like...
Oh, no, you're not going to talk me out of shit. You know that.
Well, I know. I'm just saying that for the listener. Like, it's not like I'm telling you not to love this. But the reason why I don't think I love it, though, is that I think about other games that I have loved in the past.
Sure.
And I compare the way that I felt about that game and the discussions I had about that game to the way that I feel and talk about Destiny, and they're almost polar opposites.
Sure. Right.
Like there wasn't, I played Halo 3 obsessively online.
Sorry, that was my fault. Sorry,
It was very rare that I would like leave a session of Halo 3 unless we'd been on an epic losing streak.
Sure.
But it was very rare that I would leave Halo 3 and like sit there and bitch about the game with my friends for an hour.
Yeah.
And the only way that I come back is like obviously Destiny 2 is probably the most game that the game that I played the most this generation. So obviously I like it and maybe I love it, but there is some like I can't help but feel that there is something unhealthy there, and I don't think it's exclusive to Destiny. I don't think it's just Destiny.
Sure,
I think it's Overwatch
in your
and
personal
Rocket League. I just think in everyone's life, because you also go to these communities and you look at the discussion surrounding the game.
Sure,
and it's not just me. It'd be one thing if it was just you and me sitting around bitching about the game, and everyone on the Destiny subreddit was jacking themselves off about it. But like. It's not just exclusive to that. Like, what is it about video games in 2018 that has created this awful relationship between players in the game across the board?
I'm not sure if it's video games. I think that's just the internet in general.
Yeah,
I really think that's just the internet culture because on the internet you can be and say whatever the fuck you want to say. And if so, like Halo 3 or Halo 2 or Halo 1 even, like there was no way for us to express our distaste for things in Halo 1. We could talk amongst our friends, and there were plenty of times where we would get done playing a session of Halo 1 all night and be like, this is fucking stupid. Like, I fucking hit a headshot and it didn't fucking count, blah, 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 which we didn't understand the hitboxes and all that other shit because we were young. However, there were plenty of times where we came out of a Halo session, fuck, blah, 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 blah. But there was no place to put that. But then the internet happened. And now I can be an anonymous asshole on the internet and say whatever the fuck I want to these developers and bitch them out and do all these other things. And then everybody else jumps on board. And then now we have this culture of the internet where it's like, you're right, it's unhealthy. Like the culture between players and video games is insanely unhealthy.
Well, I think
it's the internet.
The important thing to remember from this is, and we kind of talked about it, I think maybe last week, maybe the week before. People are quicker to put a bad review of something on the internet than they are a good review.
So it's going to get clicked.
These negative things that you're seeing just over abundantly on Reddit and on the internet, it's just because those are the people who just really love to complain, and that is just it is such a small minority. These people who are posting these negative things about Destiny and are getting, a couple hundred upvotes. Sure. There are still thousands of other players that are just having fun, like Chris.
Sure. There's a reason I never go to Reddit and talk about this stuff. Right. I talk about it amongst our friends just because I'm never going to go to Reddit and complain about Destiny.
It's okay. It's okay. Like if you don't want to play, like
no, but that's the thing though. Like it's not. I want to be perfectly clear before we end this discussion because we have to soon. Mm-hmm. It's not that I'm saying that it's not that I'm denying that the internet is a negative place where negative people go. I'm saying that even outside of the internet, my relationship with games and the relationship with the people around me has changed in the last 10 years. You play Overwatch, Justin. Mm. We talk about Overwatch. I can't think of a single time where you have ever told me a story where you had fun in Overwatch. But that wasn't what it was like when I was a kid. Now, maybe you guys are just different people than my friends. Maybe I'm a different person than I was when I was a kid. But when I would go to school or when I would hang out with my friends after classes and talk about video games, it was like, let me tell you about this awesome thing I did in a video game yesterday. Or there's this really cool level in the new Fallout game or a new Fable where you get to do this cool thing. Like the discussions that I was having were more positive.
It's because you were a kid.
I felt more positive. I was going to say, I think that just
comes you're a kid, dude.
But I also feel too, the people that I was listening, that I was listening to, because I was listening to podcasts at the same time, they were also having more positive discussions. And just the overwhelming conversation that's happening around video games right now is not positive. No matter where you go, whether it's with your friends, in a podcast, on a forum,
sure,
it's not positive.
The internet,
so if we can all sit here and associate these negative feelings with the game. If I can log in Destiny and the first 5 minutes is you, me, and Daniel bitching about Destiny, then pretty much why do we have that unhealthy relationship with that game? And I don't know that we have an answer to that question. Mm-hmm. And I don't know what's changed in video games or what's changed with us as consumers. I don't know where the problem starts and stops, and I don't know the solution to the problem.
Sure.
But I'm really troubled by how everything is going.
I also think your definition of unhealthy and our definition of healthy is completely different. I don't think I have an unhealthy relationship with Destiny. If I did, I wouldn't be doing this podcast right now. I'd be playing Destiny. I wouldn't take Whitney out on dates on Friday nights. I'd be playing Destiny. Mm-hmm. If I had an unhealthy relationship with Destiny, that is all I would be doing.
Well, I also think an unhealthy relationship with something is when you keep going back to it, even though you're not getting the same enjoyment from it that you might have been getting before.
But that's the thing is I am. I still get the exact same enjoyment I get from Destiny every single time. Just because I have negative opinions that have formed around a video game that I truly love doesn't mean I don't enjoy playing it every single time I log in.
I don't know. I just remember even with Destiny 2, and looking at a shorter time frame, the way that we talked and felt about that game. Again, it was new, so there's something to be said about
there's
newness.
a honeymoon phase.
But up until December, it was fairly positive. And then after December, things did a steep decline. And that's the funny thing too, is that even though the conversation around us was all awful,
sure,
we were still having positive discussions. And I think there is something to be said because whether or not you agree or disagree, this is just how I feel, and and whether or not you think I have a different definition than you is fine. It's okay, but I think that there is something to be said. If I don't log into a game and enjoy it and leave feeling positive about it,
you should stop.
You should stop.
Yeah,
but I'm not the only one that feels this way about Destiny.
Definitely.
I'm sorry. If the first thing you do when you log into a game is complain and talk about how unexcited you are to do the things that you need to do that week, that's not just me having an unhealthy relationship with it.
At least in your opinion.
Sure.
Yeah, that's the biggest thing is I have negative opinions around Destiny. I know you need to go, Justin.
Yeah.
Negative opinions around Destiny, but that still doesn't. That never ever affects my enjoyment that I have. I enjoyed the 4 hours that I played Destiny that day. Enjoyed it because it's Destiny. It's just fun. The gameplay loop it's a shit ton of fun. I guarantee you, in a month after I've been playing World of Warcraft for a month, I'm going to come into this podcast and be like, so World of Warcraft has this, and all these negative things. I guarantee it. I guarantee it. In a month, I'm going to have I'm going to be the exact same way about World of Warcraft that I am about Destiny.
I also think that comes down to kind of like your personality too. Like,
sure.
Like if Chris wasn't, I think we can all agree, Chris is not an overwhelmingly positive person.
Very true.
If Chris was
certain things I can be pretty positive about.
Right, and you get super excited about those things, and like it becomes very apparent. So I think that ties into it too.
Sure, I am very critical about everything in my life.
Right,
everything.
And that might just be a lot of what's on the internet and a lot of who you surround yourself with, which might be why you're hearing a lot of that too. But yes, I agree with you that there are people who play games and maybe they shouldn't, or maybe they should move on to a different game.
Sure.
We can end it on this, but I think that the important thing to remember about any addiction is that it is not instant. It is a progression thing.
Absolutely.
If you feel like you're going down that road, seek help or talk to people. Mm-hmm. It's good to have this communication because then we can figure out where Chris is at, where you're at, where I'm at. Communication is the most important thing. If you enjoy playing something or doing anything and it's not getting in the way of stuff that you need to get done, and it's still fun for you, then sure, continue to do it. But just keep it in check.
Sure.
And I think that's an important thing now too with parents who maybe don't understand. Like that was something that I feel like was more prevalent whenever we were growing up. That people were blaming violence on video games and addiction on video games.
Like
it was
you
just
two were growing up,
right? Yeah. Sorry, me and
you were already 30.
Yeah, exactly.
But
my parents still said, "Put down the controller and go outside."
Right,
yeah.
but it was a thing of like parents didn't understand it, so it was just kind of scary.
Yeah.
So if you're a parent listening to this and you feel like your kid's addicted to it, talk to them and figure out how they feel about this game and why they enjoy playing it, and then you can figure out the root of the problem.
I agree with you. It's the reason I did not log into Destiny once this week, and I do not plan on logging into Destiny at all. Probably until August. What day was it?
28th.
28th. Maybe August 28th. What, Everett? You have the thing.
Yeah, I think I might want to say something.
Oh, snap. End it for us, Everett.
Oh, I don't know if this is really end it or more spark more conversation.
No, don't do that. We have to go.
Okay. Then can I say my one point?
Sure.
Go for it.
Dude.
Okay. And I think it's playing into everyone's speech here on this. I think games nowadays are more focused on the stimulus of the game as opposed to developers thinking about, okay, what is actually good? Mm-hmm. What can we make as good? But now it's more focused on, how can we make this keep people coming back? That's the big that's the thing kind of that ties it all together.
Sure. Mm-hmm. I 100% agree with you. Real quick, the gambling aspect of a video game. You play Destiny, and the 20-second loop that Bungie has talked about multiple times in interviews that they have perfected is the 20-second quarter in, pull the thing, ding, 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 damn it. Quarter in, pull the thing, ding, 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 damn it. It's literally exactly what video game developers do. They develop games to there's a carrot on a stick, and you just keep on fucking going after that carrot. That's exactly what video game developers do. And is it bad? Yeah. Does it work? Yeah. And unfortunately, that sucks. But that's what you got to keep in check, like you were saying.
Well, let's end it there. If you guys like what we do, please rate, review, and subscribe to us on iTunes, Stitcher, YouTube, Google Play Store, wherever you listen to your podcasts at. You can follow us on Twitter at Twinstick Radio, or on Facebook at facebook.com/Twinstick Radio, or on Instagram at Twinstick Radio.
Or on YouTube. Did you say that part?
I already said that.
Oh.
Damn it, Justin, listen.
You can follow all of us as well. I'm at Darth Trey. Chris is at Shortchange Hero with the 3 instead of the E in Hero. And Justin is at Justin T. Lopez. The show is produced, as always, by Everett Jordan, who you heard at the end of the podcast. We always like hearing from you, Everett. You can follow him on Twitter at the56, with a TH at the end. The show is edited by Connor. Follow him on Twitter at Connor13, one and in Connor, 13 spelled out. And follow stuff he does for Downstream Studios and hire him to make your Sarah McLaughlin video game addiction commercial.
Noises. Connor's really good at making spray bottle noises. Hey, Connor, do it real quick.
Oh, wow. That was so good, Connor.
Good job, Connor. That was really good.
Went, whoa. All right, guys. We will see you next week.
Bye, guys.